Welcome, acolytes. I think I started this one. It's gonna be a relatively quick one, I assume. I mean, I'm not gonna go for the time. I'm gonna go for doing those videos and then checking out and going away. Yeah. I just don't know how I'm gonna do the entire freaking streaming thing. It is what it is. But let's just stay and hear this one out. By the way, this first one is a freaking... I'm just gonna show you about, I don't know, like maybe 10 minutes pure freaking YouTube AI slop, how they actually crippled my video. This is just so freaking funny. Yeah, it's a reaction to my reaction. How the AI interprets the words that I am actually speaking. It's incredibly bad and so funny. Let's just start.
Akolyten. Im Moment mache ich eine Aufteilung der Asong Discord Mods.
Awesome. But can you hear this voice? This is just... Oh. And never forget, it's not Asmon, it's Awesome. Awesome mods. It already starts beautifully.
Es ist also im Grunde die Wahrheit über Asong Discord Mods von Tactical Templar. Jetzt klingt es nach ein bisschen Drama.
Love it.
Also werde ich hier ein bisschen Drama machen. Denn warum nicht?
This. I love how the freaking AI just didn't say, like, he explained the thing about the Templar correctly, and then he said, ich werde hier etwas Drama machen. Literally, spoken out, it means I'm gonna make some drama here. Yeah. Not entirely true, but it's so bad. It's so freaking bad.
Ich werde einfach sehen, worum es geht und warum was und übrigens, nur damit du weißt, wie voreingenommen ich hier bin. Ich mag diesen Typen. Ich mag diesen Typen einfach. Ich bin definitiv voreingenommen ihm gegenüber.
Yeah, it's... The way he says it, or the way the AI actually says it, is in a way where I wanna just freaking F the Templar right now, the Tactical Templar. It's just so freaking bad. But yeah, come on.
Also, lass uns einfach Discord starten und...
Let us start Discord. Okay, fair enough.
Ja, lass uns einfach überspringen.
Tactical, gestern habe ich ein Video hochgeladen und ich möchte es wiederholen. Ich bin voreingenommen gegenüber Tactical Templar. Ich sage es einfach und es sind Esminold Mods, nicht Esminold selbst.
I hate this crippling of the German language here. Esminold. Okay. I mean, my voice can be definitively unclear or even a bit, because of the accent, you could well say that. I would. Like, skip maybe a thing or two, but damn. Oh, and I forgot to record it. Irrelevant. Yeah, let's just continue this. Just freaking... Oh.
Also, Esmin Gold im Grunde, nur damit ihr...
It still continues, by the way. Just for YouTube. I'm recording how I crippled my thing, like my video. It's just already with so many mistakes. Just hear my voice and hear the voice from the AI. It's just... And Esmi Gold. Not Esmon Gold. Esmon.
Bescheid wisst, denn ich werde Asmin Gold nicht die Schuld für das Verhalten seiner Mods geben, weil er im Grunde nur sagt, ja, das ist mein verdammtes Discord-Ding, aber die Mods machen, was sie wollen. Ich halte mich davon fern.
Okay.
Nur damit ihr Bescheid wisst, was es mit
Asmin Golds Discord und der Situation, die sich dort abgespielt hat.
The voice change. I love it. It's so freaking stupid. Oh. Oh, freak.
hat, auf sich hat. Im Grunde bin ich auf einen der unhöflichsten, unprofessionellsten und streitsüchtigsten Karen-Mods
Oh wait, that's not me anymore. That's the guy. That's the Templar. Oh freaking hell, nice.
gestoßen, die ich je gesehen habe. Und zugegeben, ich habe nicht so viel Erfahrung mit Discord, aber das war abscheulich. Das erinnerte mich an die Situation bei Helldivers 2, wo ein Community Manager
Helldivers 2, by the way. Helldivers. Oh, it sounds like a freaking trance metal band. Helldivers.
den Ort ruiniert hat, indem er Leute gebannt hat, weil sie Foliat nicht bejaht haben. Das scheint die Art von Frau zu sein, diese Banane, dieses Mädchen, sie scheint der Typ Mann zu sein, der in einem Asthma-Video über eine widerwärtige Karen-Schlampe landen würde, die einen Ort ruiniert hat, an den sie eigentlich nicht gehört.
Okay, right now the entire thing is actually quite good. Well, respectively, well, übersetzt, so not gonna say.
Verdammt. Verdammt. Ich will Beweise. Das klingt jetzt eigentlich ganz lustig.
No, that was me again. This AI is freaking beautiful.
Tatsache ist, dass ich diese Situation gestern Abend durchgegangen bin. Ich habe es sehr deutlich gemacht. Die Regeln sind vage, keine religiösen Themen. Was ist denn ein Thema? Ich bin nicht hier, um wie Jordan Peterson zu sagen, dass es keine religiösen oder politischen Themen gibt. Ich weiß, dass die Templer sehr religiös sind. Die Regeln unterliegen dem gesunden Menschenverstand. Keine Piraterie.
I cannot even differentiate between when I am talking and the Dark Templar is talking. And no, it's not about the Templar, it's about, like, for F's sake, this is so stupid. I love it.
Kein Sexualismus, bla bla bla. Erwähnen Sie keine Eigenwerbung. Okay, gut, in Ordnung. Also keine politischen oder religiösen Themen. Gut. Was ist das, was kein religiöses Thema ist? Okay, wir werden also kein Hin und Her haben, wie du ein Muslim bist, ich bin ein Christ. Wir diskutieren hin und her, wir sprechen über unsere Religion. Das verstehe ich, das macht absolut Sinn.
Aber wenn man nur die Schrift erwähnt, wie zum Beispiel Johannes 3:16.
Ja.
3:16. If you notice this, if you just mentioned the scripture, like Johannes 3:15, yes, the time, 3:16, like the time. It's not this. Oh, this bullshit. Nice.
Die Schrift ist buchstäblich ein religiöses Thema, so wie ich es sehe. Es ist buchstäblich etwas, das man aus der Bibel nimmt.
Mhm.
Also ja, das ist verboten. Das ist inakzeptabel. Nun, anscheinend, weil das alles ist, was ich gesagt habe. Ja, das habe ich als Antwort auf ein Stone Cold Steve Austin GIF gesagt. Austin 3:16. Nein, Johannes 3:16. Okay, warte. Johannes 3:16. Wie war das? Lass mich das nochmal hören. Das habe ich als Antwort auf ein Stone Cold Steve Austin GIF gesagt. Austin 3:16. Nein, Johannes.
Can you hear this? They're speaking about the time. It's just so stupid, and I just don't know who's actually meant with this. It's like one person just speaking to themselves. It's freaking insanity. And I love it.
Johannes 3:16.
Also, wenn ich mich richtig erinnere, übrigens, Akolyten, wenn es darum geht, dass Gott seinen Sohn geschickt hat, um sich für sie zu opfern.
Yeah.
Bei Alustin 316 bezieht sich Johannes 316 auf eine Kategorie namens Steve Ausdenks ikonische Kingdom of Ring Promo, in der er steht.
What the fuck?
Austin sagt, es hat dir einfach den Arsch versohlt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and nothing comes for a freaking half an hour.
Also Austin 3:16 sagt einfach, ich habe dir den Arsch versohlt. Das ist also das Meme. Gut, fair genug. Johannes, die religiöse Promo mit Bezug auf den Bibelvers von John Fenn. Ausdenkstherapie bestätigt es. Daher betrifft es eine biblische Botschaft aus Austin King 16. Mal sehen.
16.
Der Gegner schleifte die Schlange, robuste Werbung, biblisch, wo es heißt, Geist des Wortes, das spricht, okay, gehen wir da etwas tiefer rein. Sagen wir einfach Johannes 3,16. Johannes 3,16, denn so sehr hat Gott die Welt geliebt, dass er seinen eingeborenen Sohn gab, damit alle, die daran glauben, nicht verloren gehen, sondern ewiges Leben haben.
Okay, fair enough.
Also ja, da liegt man halb richtig. Gut.
What the fuck?
Ich bin
And half of the words just aren't there. I hate it.
ehrlich, wenn er das gerade so gesagt hat.
Nope.
Ich verstehe, wenn er dafür einen Klaps auf die Finger bekommt, denn Austin 3,16 ist etwas anderes als Johannes 3,16.
What the Okay.
Ich verstehe die Parodie dahinter, aber nichtsdestotrotz ist es meiner Meinung nach immer noch ein religiöses Thema. Also würde ich ihm sagen, hey, hör mir mal zu. Ich weiß, das war clever. Du hast das wirklich gemacht. Sehr
Hey, das was clever. You really did it. No, that's...
gute Arbeit. Aber nichtsdestotrotz fällt das unter die Regel, keine religiösen Themen. Bitte tu das nicht. So würde ich es handhaben.
Damn, this...
Oder vielleicht, wenn er einfach erklären würde, worauf sich das bezieht, dann wäre das meiner Meinung nach auch okay. Und anscheinend war das der Auslöser, und ich bin das gestern Abend durchgegangen.
There is so freaking... This is unholy. This is just unholy. The dolmetsching of the entire thing just isn't even close to the thing I actually spoke about. It's not even close. It's... But the argument is just... Damn, it's so crippled. It's so freaking crippled. But I think we get the gist. It's just... It's just bad. Oh, no. If the YouTube AI just has to get better, this isn't even close to being good. Oh, no. Damn. But yeah. I guess fair enough. Good. We're gonna actually just, like a nice production film, just go in and why it sucks to be an executioner in a executioner in feudal Japan. From Bernard. Now the entire thing, like being an executioner in the Middle Ages, was, well, not particularly, well, thought good about, just because while you executed people and people just said, because of their beliefs, a very, very bad feeling about it. But also, I mean, at the end of the day, you are a freaking executioner, and people will feel a bit dizzy around you, or not particularly, well, wanted, not wanted, good about themselves, or good in front of you. So yeah, it's understandable. But let's see what Bernard has to say about this one.
Period Japan, a time where samurais, ninjas, and shoguns are all the rage. You're not born into a noble clan, a proud merchant family, or even a humble farming village. You are born into a hereditary executioner clan. Your caste? Ida.
Wait, a clan? A clan? An entire clan? Huh. I think I forgot that part of the information. Well, it is what it is.
Which literally means filthy.
Oh.
You don't have a name yet. Your birth certificate might as well say, do not touch. Neighbors won't visit, priests won't bless you, and if you drop dead, people worry more about purifying the ground than mourning you. Because even among your caste, you're the lowest of the low. Welcome to life on society's bottom shelf. Some years pass, and you're 5 now. Your house is on the edge of town. Not edge like scenic, edge like quarantined. You grow up only knowing your mother and father, and your odd uncle that sometimes visits late at night. You know people don't like your family much. It becomes quite obvious when you see people cross streets just to get away from you and your mother at the market. You notice that
I mean, yes, that's basically how the Middle Ages treated their executioners. I mean, it is a dirty job, don't get me wrong, but it's a, as we see these days, a very necessary job that should be, well, reapplied to certain freaks.
that even the criminals are afraid of you. Not because you're tough. After all, how tough can a 5-year-old be? You're 7 when you first understand why. Your father wakes you up early one day and tells your mother to prepare you for the day. He says you're going on a journey, so you follow. The journey leads you to an execution ground. You see a man tied to a wooden stake. He's calm. Too calm. Then you see your father show up next to him. He draws his blade, takes one silent breath, and slices the man's head clean off. You flinch. No one else does. This is just a normal Tuesday for them. Later that day, you ask your father if you can become a merchant, or a monk, or literally anything that does.
I'm gonna be honest, the reaction of a kid after seeing this, yes, this would be the thing that happens. I mean, after seeing a human being just, well, being executed, yes. Because it's, I mean, as necessary as offing is for, well, animals or something like that, it's not necessarily normal for a human being to be, well, offed. So, a kid being shocked about this, no wonder.
Doesn't involve dismembering people in front of a crowd. He doesn't laugh. He just says, "No one else will ever let you forget what we are." At age 12, your education starts. While other boys learn kanji and Confucian ethics, you are learning the basics on how to remove a human head in one stroke. First lesson, anatomy of animals in the human body. Second lesson, beheading. You start small with birds, then pigs, and finally stray dogs.
Oh,
Then to unclaimed corpses.
no. Oh. No, I didn't know that. Damn. For F's sake, the dogs? I mean, I understand you need some practice, but for F's sake. Ah. Take your greetings and blessings upon thee. Thank you. Hello, and yeah. You came in the perfect time after we're talking about beheading animals, for F's sake. Life of our executioner in feudal Japan, by the way. Funny accent, man? I subscribe. Thank you. Just because of the accent, well. It's a Polish one. Before there are any, let's just say, confusing statements made here. It's not a Turkish one or a Russian one. Just so you know. Ah, but F me here. F me here. Damn. Phew.
Corpses. You hesitate. Your father doesn't shout. He just hands you the blade again and says, "Better them than you." You learn how to identify the third and fourth
A true statement, but still. No fucking way.
cervical vertebrae, because that's where the head should come off. Clean, silent, dignified. He tells you that you don't aim to kill.
And by the way, the thing is, actual medieval, like at least in Europe, executioners had to know the human body particularly well to actually, well, not let them suffer too long, or just long enough for the people to have their quote-unquote fun.
You aim
So,
to
yeah.
honor the technique. You start memorizing death rituals like multiplication tables. Samurai get seppuku, which you perform by beheading them after they stab themselves in the abdomen with a short sword. After. He really focuses on that word. Peasants get a hanging. Traitors get crucified in public for added flair. He tells you that each crime has a designated end. Each end has a proper pose. You learn to clean blood from wood without staining it. You learn how to tie a rope just tight enough for strangulation, but loose enough for spectacle. You learn that most people don't scream. They just look at you, like you're not real.
Damn.
At the end of your learning phase, your friends are imaginary, your clothes are secondhand from corpses, and your idea of a good day.
Oh no, oh, that's brutal. Why would you ever have the clothes of your of the... Oh no, this, freak.
Is one where the wind blows the
I mean, I knew that executioners took the jewelry or something, or gold things. Yes, like things that you could sell afterwards. But the clothing, damn, that's disgusting.
smell away. You don't dream of being a hero. Well, except when the hero's power is invisibility. You're 15 when you commit your first murder. They don't call it that, of course. They call it ceremony, duty, or fulfilling the law.
I mean, I actually, if you want to fulfill the law, well, somebody has to get axed for it. Literally and figuratively in this case.
But it's a kill. A samurai has been sentenced to seppuku. You're the kaishakunen, the one that delivers the final cut.
Kaishakunen,
the clean
okay.
one, the merciful one.
The merciful
He
one.
kneels in white robes, says a poem, and slits his belly. Then he looks at you. You freeze. He nods, not with fear, with trust.
Damn.
Your hands don't shake, not anymore. You raise the blade, swing down, and his head hits the mat like it was always meant to be there. The crowd bows, not to him, not to the gods, to you. That night, you wash the blade 3 times.
Yeah, the thing is, if you do something like this, there is a certain amount of respect and, well, you have to be a freaking machine to actually do stuff like this. This is just insanity.
It still smells like blood.
Damn.
You don't eat, you don't sleep. Your father pats your head before leaving incense at the shrine. You sit beside it, staring. Because no one told you that mercy and murder could look exactly the same. No one tells you that the first time someone dies by your hand, they stay there, behind your eyes, forever. You're 20 when the title becomes yours. The shogunate seals it with ink and indifference. Your name as the official executioner and sword tester of Edo. But it doesn't feel like a promotion. It feels like inheritance wrapped in iron and blood. Your father watches silently as you kneel, the decree still drying. He says nothing. He doesn't have to. You both know what this means. No turning back.
Damn, this is off. Oh.
Your days shift. You no longer clean after executions. You perform them. Every blade stroke is a test of your sword, of your nerve, of your ability to pretend this is normal. You memorize vertebrae like scripture. Third to fourth cervical. That's the sweet spot. One clean cut. No sound, no twitch. The body slumps. The head drops forward. Never rolls. That's your signature. One day you're
Yeah, having a clean cut like this is actually quite impressive. It's as impressive as stuff like this can be, by the way. This is still disgusting.
for work. So the crowd gathers at Kozakapara, silent, waiting, watching. Some cover their children's eyes. Others lean in. You ignore them all. Except her. Your fiancée. Daughter of a gravedigger. Betrothed since birth. A perfect match, they say. She stands...
Shit. See? Even a freaking executioner and a gravedigger finds someone to love, so...
at the edge of the crowd, wrapped in quiet.
A bit forced, but hey, it is
Smiles
what it is.
at you. You smile back. But don't move. You never do. You're afraid to touch her with blood-soaked hands. Afraid she'll see what you've become. So you lift the blade, let it fall. And when the crowd gasps, you look only at her, hoping she still sees the man, not the executioner. The shogun sends you swords. Everyone wants proof their steel can sever 5 bodies in one swing. You oblige and carve the number of corpses directly into the blade's tang. You become a ghost in silk robes, feared, respected.
Damn, that's something I didn't know, that people would actually give you weapons to test on. I mean, it makes sense, to be quite honest. And it's still macabre, let's be honest here, acolytes. But nonetheless, it's actually quite an effective thing. I mean, I am baffled, but not surprised. It makes sense. Good. Fair enough.
Never touched.
I mean,
You're
what
paid
would
in
you do?
gold. You wear silk. You live in a nice house, slightly uphill from the execution grounds. Close enough to smell the smoke. Far enough to not hear the screams. After all,
What the
you're a
fuck?
father now. You've welcomed your first child, a boy. You pray he can grow to be free of this life. But no amount of prayers washes the blood from your name. A name your son has also inherited. You're in your 30s now, and you're a legend. Officials bow when they hand you scrolls. Criminals flinch when they hear your name. Samurai nod with grim respect. But when you walk through the market, the stalls go quiet.
Yep.
The butcher refuses to meet your eyes. The rice seller sets your change down on a wooden tray.
Ironic. And by the way, this isn't. This is normal for Japan or in Asian countries. They actually prefer if you lay down your money on a certain, well, wooden or just somewhere else, not directly into their hands, because it's, I don't know, it's just how it is. So yeah, this isn't even something special. This is just, it is what it is. And what I actually wanted to say, the thing about the butcher is, well, the butcher, ironically, these days is seen as a, well, killer. So,
Like touching your hand might summon demons. People whisper your name like a curse. The Blade of Edo.
damn.
You've executed samurai, rebels, traitors, and poets. Each one leaves behind something heavier than blood. You try to forget their faces. You try harder to forget their final words, because some of them say thank you. And that's the part that keeps you awake at night. Your
the
job
thank
as
you?
executioner isn't only about the dead. There's also the side business.
No, that doesn't make sense. I mean, those who actually say, yeah, thank you for doing this, shouldn't that be the positive things? Where you say, yeah, okay, fair enough. Well, I mean, accepting death isn't something that you should be happy about, I assume.
The pills. You didn't invent them. It's just part of the job. But you refine the process. Organs from the executed. Livers, brains, bile.
No.
Dried, powdered, and pressured into cure-alls.
No.
You call them magic pills. Others just call them death pills. Supposed to treat everything from coughing blood to spiritual affliction. They sell faster than rice. You gift them to officials. You stock them in temples. You slip them into the hands of sick children.
These days we know that, let's just say, medicine from those components aren't as effective. Freak, this is disgusting. This sounds like a midlife, I don't know, say particularly football at early age instead of executioning sounds more fun. I'm gonna be honest. It probably shouldn't, but it definitively sounds like more fun, yes. I'm playing football, what are you doing? I'm rolling heads, wink wink. Ah, you're dead, I seen him last month. Wow, how is he? Well, a bit headless, wink wink. Freak.
then watch their mothers recoil once they realize where they came from. But gold keeps flowing. The swords keep coming. You test them on the condemned, on the cold, on the dying. You swing with the force of tradition and the precision of fear. And always, always, you engrave the results into steel. 5 bodies, left shoulder to right hip. 3 corpses, full cut. Seppuku assistant, clean finish. You've become something worse than hated. You've become necessary. And in Edo, that's the loneliest thing of all. You don't have friends. You have clients, subordinates, and apprentices who bow a little too low. Even your wife, who once smiled at you, has learned not to ask what you did that day. She knows what the blood on your sleeve means. So she pretends it's ink. You both do. You've stopped flinching at screams. You've stopped blinking at entrails. But sometimes, just before you sleep, you still see their faces. The ones who didn't struggle. The ones who whispered a prayer as your blade came down. You remember the weight of their heads. Literally. Your dreams are filled with ghosts who never speak. Just stare.
Yeah, I had a, let's just say, longer talk with a few soldiers that actually had to end their life, and it's never a positive outcome. As far as it sounds, no, it's something you have to do, but damn.
1,000 silent witnesses lining your sleep, and some of them look like you. You've become the shogunate's favorite tool. Precise, silent, irreplaceable. You're the final stop for criminals, rebels, heretics, and men too proud to hang.
I love the final stop thing. No. It lets it sound like it's a bus stop. Oh no. A bus full of those fuckers. Just
The execution grounds are your temple now. You walk them barefoot. You can feel the old blood soaked into the dirt. And sometimes, just before a cut, you whisper a poem. Not for them. For you. You've taken to writing death verses like the samurai do. Not because anyone demands it, but because it's the last piece of soul you have left to polish. Even your katana has changed. Notched slightly near the middle. Blackened at the hilt. It groans when drawn, like it remembers your sins too.
a bit over dramatic here, but freak me. I mean, I'm gonna be honest here, acolytes. I would want a freaking executioner's plate in my home. That would be so freaking awesome. Not gonna lie here. Yes, as a lich bone, yeah, I mean, a bit macabre, ain't it? Oi! Black Queen? The first apathetic Black Queen? Oj, Servus? Damn. Oda cześć. Take one. But what do you think actually about like having an executioner sword freaking hanging on your wall? That would be so freaking nice. I seen Demon Slayer movie 2 days ago. It's good. It's good. Demon Slayer movie. Damn. Okay, fair enough. Please don't spoiler me. I want to see it for myself. Do not spoiler. But I am happy to hear that it's good.
One day you catch your reflection in the blade. You look tired. Older than your years. Not a warrior. Not a man. Just a shadow in silk.
Not a warrior, not a man. Just another executioner. Wait, what was the music? Ow! Oh, frick. It would look cool, but it's dangerous, and I know S will start swinging it for fun until I get her or something. Hey, no risk, no fun. If it's there, it's there. And if you hurt yourself, it's a difference between, well, I cut myself with a butter knife and I cut myself with a motherfucking executioner sword. This sounds freaking awesome as fuck. Now, come on. It's... So, yeah. Okay, it's only part 1. Fair enough.
And then it hits you. You're not wielding the blade anymore. It's wielding you, just like it did your father before you. Your son turns 12 the day you take him to the yard.
No.
Not for cake, for his first cut. You hand him a short blade and point to a bundle of straw soaked in red dye. He hesitates. You don't blame him. You did too. But that was a lifetime ago, when your hand still shook. Now it's his turn. Why do I have to learn this? He asks. You lie,
For
so
fun.
you'll be safe. What you mean is, so they won't burn our name from the records, so the shogunate keeps feeding us, so the villagers don't spit at our door more than usual. You teach him.
And don't forget, we need the lungs for the medicine you're consuming. Don't ask. Just... Yeah, and by the way, the eggs we're eating, well, guess what? Which eggs?
Posture, grip, breath. You don't teach him how to live with ghosts. That comes later. Now it's animals. Your son picks up his sword. You swore you'd end it with you. You swore that no child of yours would carry blood in their hands, ghosts on their back, or a title that turns people into shadows. But now your son grips the same hilt you once did. And he shakes, just like you did.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't mean to train him. It started with stories, then sword forms, then just-in-case drills. Now he knows how to aim between the 3rd and 4th cervical vertebrae. He hates it. You see it in the way he won't meet your eyes after practice. How he flinches when pigs squeal. How he cries when no one's looking.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that cry. But he also sees the world. The merchants who still won't sell to him. The girls who stop talking when he enters a room. The shrine gates that remain shut. The ghosts that don't care what century it is. So you wait until your son's asleep to break down. That night, you dream of breaking the chain.
Oh, for F's sake, I thought he wants to freaking just end him. Damn. Yeah, my mind went to a very dark part. Damn. Shit. Good. Break the chains. Good. Don't cut anything else. Break the chains.
Running away to a fishing village. Starting over under a new name. But then you wake to the knock of a magistrate's assistant. Another execution. Another body. Another coin. You look at your sleeping son. You could say no. You could walk away. Instead, you lace your robe, tuck in your blade, and whisper the same thing your father once said. Forgive me. Because in each...
Forgive me, yes. And why would he end him? It's... Right now, these days, if you hear the word end, it's an acronym. Is it called an acronym? For the word killing. Or death. So I just... Like, in my mind, it was like, oh no. Well, the bloodline or the executioner, the passing down will end one way or the other. So, you know.
Edo, Japan, the only thing harder than holding the sword is handing it to your child. You're in your 40s when the world flips. The emperor restores himself. The samurai lose their swords. The shogunate collapses like a paper fan in a fire. And with it, your job, your income, your purpose. Sword testing? Banned. Corpse trade? Banned. Miracle pills made from livers and gallbladders? Banned.
Luckily.
Decapitation? Too savage. Now it's all hangings and paperwork. You go to the Meiji offices. Robe pressed, sword polished, hope trembling in your hand. They smile, bow, thank you for your service, then shut the door behind you. You should be sad, pissed even, but you just can't help letting out a smile.
Yeah, good.
Maybe your son can finally have a normal life. But Japan doesn't think so. The Meiji era says time have changed. but your family still gets treated the same way. Years pass and your son still can't find employment around you. So you send him away, believing a new beginning will help. And that's where we'll leave you. Old and dying, haunted by the ghosts of your past. Centuries pass. The sword is sheathed. The executions stop. The empire modernizes. The world forgets your name. But your blood remembers. Your great-great-grandchildren wear suits now. They work in offices, ride bullet trains, post selfies.
Happy ending.
On the surface, they're just like everyone else.
Happy
But
effing
the
ending.
registry still exists. The Koseki, that beautiful little book that quietly lists your family's former cast.
Damn.
All it
Nice.
takes is one background check, one curious HR manager, one old money family with a private investigator, one glance at a marriage application, and names like Yamada still curdles the air. You don't call them Ida anymore. They say Buraku. They say special background. They say nothing at all. But the job offer vanishes. The engagement falls apart. The apartment lease is denied. In
Damn.
school, classmates tease them with old myths that their ancestors made skin pills, bathed in blood, spoke to ghosts. They laugh along, pretend it doesn't sting, go home and
I mean, for F's sake, that's bad. Like, if this is how it still works, that's really bad. I actually don't envy him. Oof.
scrub history off their skin. They can't. Because all
But I'm gonna be honest, quite a good one. Not gonna lie, I quite liked it. It's not the best of those things, because there are channels that do this kind of video better, but I'm not gonna say that it's bad. It's nicely done. But damn,
Most people can agree that
the executioner thing, damn. That's actually interesting. I just don't know how to say it otherwise. Oh, glorious strange obsession with dying in battle. Ooh.
You ever notice how
Ooh, but I'm gonna do it. Ooh, the guy. Oh, this has to be a good one. Look at this. 41k. Damn. Damn. Really good one. But okay. Let's just hear the battles here, and I am just documenting what I actually watched and the title of it, just so I can then afterwards share the link and the name and the channel. Oh, and I forgot to actually promote the other one. Freak. Well, you live, you learn. As it is. But good. Let's go for how what a fantasy I may actually fight. And this is quite interesting, because I would say that an actual fantasy army wouldn't, or humans at least, wouldn't fight particularly different than now. It depends on the magic system in the fantasy world and what beasts you can tame or are on your side. So let's see this one.
I think most people can agree that one of the coolest things about fantasy stories are the epic battles.
Hell yeah.
That's because not only do you get to see castles, trebuchets, soldiers hitting each other with swords, and heroes fighting one-on-one in single combat, stuff that's in most historical movies and TV, but you also get magic and dragons and scenarios constructed solely to be the coolest and most thematic thing that the author could think of.
Yeah.
There's this guy who
I mean, imagine just a freaking dragon comes out on your side and then just does the flame thing. Or can cast spells. Just a freaking gigantic snowball just falling on everyone. Freaking awesome war.
shows up on YouTube channels talking about how accurate the battles in movies and TV were. His name is Roel Konijndijk. He's an expert on ancient warfare and a lecturer at Oxford University, but most people know him as the ditch guy.
Where is your ditch? Where's your ditch? You gotta have a ditch. Otherwise, they're gonna run
Nice.
those siege towers
I
right
know
up to
this,
your wall.
Dave.
You know this. And obviously, Jerusalem at the time did have a ditch, and it had a pre-wall in another ditch. So that you can't just put your siege engines right up to the wall.
Yes. By the way, ditches extremely effective. Even in those times. Extremely effective. It's just simply, even against arrows or something different, or just to hide, or just to lay down your equipment so it doesn't get shattered, or just go around, or just entrap or slow down the enemy. Everything's good. A ditch is something beautiful. A ditch is something that we need in situations like this. So yes, ditch is life.
That's because he criticizes most armies and media for forgoing the most basic step in defensive warfare for most of human history, the humble ditch. It really makes sense. If your goal is to stop your opponent from getting to or past you, your first line of defense shouldn't be your shield wall, it should be getting past a big fuck-off ditch first. It slows the enemy down so they can't charge into you with their main force or with their cavalry. It also creates a kill zone for your ranged troops as the enemy works to fill it in or otherwise bypass it. And all that together is just a huge blow to the enemy momentum and morale, which could be the most important reason to have one in the first place.
Hell yeah.
So if the ditch is that important to period armies, why are they so often forgone in their cinema and TV adaptations? Simply put, the very fact that it breaks up a charge and slows an enemy down also means that it slows down the action.
Exactly. This is basically all this is about, because it slows down the action. And the thing is, even real life fights, they don't take this long as you see in movies. It's a quick thing. It's not even close to the action movies. I mean, at some point, you just lose all your stamina. Equipment is heavy. Even the equipment that we wear these days for fighting, you will feel it after a while.
Yes, not allowing your enemy to charge into your lines is tactically sound, but is it worth it if it means you don't get to see two battle lines charging into each other on an open field? This has been talked about to death, but I needed an excuse to yap about it myself, so I'm gonna bring up maybe the worst battle tactic I've ever seen put to screen. I'm talking, of course, about the elves' suicide charge in the Battle of Five Armies.
I feel you, brother. This was one of the stupidest, most inefficient, most bollocks moment in the entire cinematics of Herr der Ringe, Lord of the Ring. But what did it look freaking epic? It did. It's stupid, but F me, this is one of the coolest looking scenes in the entire movie. And it's still tactically stupid.
Armies moving. Here you can see the dwarven heavy phalanx wheel to face the enemy, who is charging into them. This is the ideal scenario for the dwarves, the exact kind of situation that their infantry is built to deal with.
Yes.
A direct charge of enemy infantry into their spear wall. It's this exact formation that Alexander the Great used to conquer most of the known world.
It's correct.
The issue with the phalanx formation is that it lacks mobility and has a weakness to heavy ranged warfare and artillery. But the orcs were just charging into them. It was the perfect scenario to set up the good guys for a win. So of course the elves ruin it. Instead of doing, I don't know, anything else, they jump over the shield wall into the oncoming orc horde in a suicide maneuver. This forces the dwarves to break up their perfect defensive formation, because the momentum of the enemy would inevitably push the elves back into their own allies' spears. So in order to not let their allies die, they have to charge in, essentially throwing away their advantage. Now this could be thematic if you chalk this up to elven pride and not wanting the dwarves to be the heroes of the story. But since there is no talk about this after the battle's over, I'd see this as the filmmakers deciding that a cool shot was worth more than anything that made sense.
Exactly. It's and by the way, already very good. Yes, I agree with him, and it just looks epic. It looks really epic, but you would never do it. You would never do such a thing in real life. It is honestly just so freaking. Oh, I already said my mind about it. It's just And I think a dwarf would maybe ram a spear into a elf's back. Just I may or may not be a bit, well, let's just say, negatively attuned against elves. For some reason. I cannot tell the reason why. I cannot tell how. But maybe there is a thing.
In the moment. Let me quickly show you how to make better use of the elves in this battle. Leave the dwarves where they are to meet the oncoming horde. They're incredibly heavy infantry, so they're going to hold out a really long time. Let the elves stand behind them and shoot arrows at the enemy to make good use of what the elves are actually good at. Now, if you have these elite elven shock infantry to use, you should use them like how you would use a cavalry unit. Either have them protect the dwarven flanks, or charge the enemy's flanks if you have the opportunity. The elves in Lord of the Rings are notoriously very fast, so they could even act as a light cavalry unit and try to get to the enemy archers or the enemy rear. Really, almost any use of them would be better than what they did in the film. It reminds me of the suicide charge of the Dothraki into the massed infantry formation of Undead, but that's really been talked to death, so I'll leave that there. Now, they could have also gone with an encirclement tactic, sort of the weak center Hannibal thing, but I feel like because they didn't have a unified leadership, that wouldn't have worked well enough. I think poor battle tactics representation in fantasy stories bothers me even more than in historical stories, since in historical stories, the author didn't invent the setting. In fantasy, the author literally created everything whole cloth, so there really is no excuse for poor battle tactics in service of cinematic narrative moments.
I would say that in a historical sense, no, there isn't any excuse except it looks cool. In fantasy, though, I would say there could be one specific excuse that maybe could work and make sense. Namely, if you have a wizard or a magician that actually buffs your people or just guides them with, let's just say, flame wars or something like that, flame walls, or gives them shields or something like that, and the people just forget those tactics because they are just simply unnecessary, because you have a wizard that actually can make everything work, then you could have an excuse after losing that wizard why their tactics are poor. Why are they doing this bollocks thing instead of actually doing it correctly? Then maybe.
Beyond pure laziness. So how should you depict battles in a fantasy world? If you have a complex magic system, it can be difficult. But that's why you should be thinking about this when you are creating your world and your magic system.
I love this.
You should start your world building with your cool ideas, but then bring it back immediately to the most basic questions, like, what do they eat? If this race has this natural power and longevity, why aren't they ruling the world? If this spell existed, what would people actually use it for day to day? If you don't answer questions like this when you're developing your world, you're setting yourself up for Hogwarts-sized plot holes. Now, sometimes plot holes don't really matter if your story isn't about that. For instance, if you're writing fantasy Regency romance and it doesn't concern itself with geopolitics, people could forgive you for adding a spell to it that would have allowed a fantasy Napoleon to easily just take over the world. Or would they forgive that? It depends. For me, it comes down heavily to verisimilitude. Does your world offer enough possible answers to the questions your world building brings up? Because if that spell existed that allowed Napoleon to take over, but other spells exist that could have potentially countered it, you don't have to specifically answer that in your story. Your world building is doing it for you. People will just argue about it on Reddit and grant your story more longevity. But if there's literally no reason why something wouldn't have happened, given your world building besides that wasn't what your story is about, you're gonna have problems.
A few years ago, this is actually quite interesting because I read a book, I just don't know, it was in the time of the Napoleonic Wars, when Napoleon took over or won a lot of wars because of his artillery, and it basically had fantasy elements to it with basics, not a high fantasy but low fantasy, but they had dragons. So dragons and the other countries had artilleries, but they could counter Napoleon's artilleries with dragons. So that's why he didn't instantly take everything over and blah, blah, blah. So there was an literal, like a counter to it. to a certain
You can
degree.
justify anything in your world with enough work, but it's a balancing act of making sure that your fix doesn't break something somewhere else.
Yes.
That's why it's better to be on top of these things and thinking about it at the very top of your world building. So if you were to translate these concepts of verisimilitude to a world where the powers people have in Dungeons & Dragons exist, how would an army even fight? When a spell like Fireball exists, would units still fight in tight clusters? If there are Griffin Riders from Waterdeep, would that give them an uncounterable advantage against other city-states should they come to blows? How could anyone deal with higher-level wizards that can cast things like Meteor Storm a mile away? The questions in the D&D
Or the
world
wish
are
spell.
endless, but luckily they don't suffer the world-building problem I mentioned earlier because the potential answers are also endless. You could raise a dozen scenarios that seem unbeatable, but then come up with 100.
Yeah, I mean, Unbeatable is something like a lich that actually also is a necromancer and just, well, says, stand up, zombie, and just fight for me again. Let's do it. Go, go, go. Just saying, maybe, an idea.
Ways to beat them. I'm currently running a D&D campaign set in a fantasy world inspired by Caesar's invasion of Gaul, and in the process of world building, the question raised itself to me too. How would a legion fight in a world with magic and monsters? Let's break down the challenges that the Legion would likely face in this area of the world and go over how the Legion would structure itself to combat those. First, magic. It's definitely a big problem. It's unpredictable and could be used to quickly break battle lines and morale, things the Legion needs to maintain, especially when they're fighting enemies who number much greater than them. A Legion is about 5,500 soldiers, subdivided into 10 cohorts of around 480 soldiers, subdivided again into centuries of about 80 soldiers. Each century would have a standard bearer, which in history was meant to provide everything from cohesion to morale. But in this world, it has one more function. It provides an anti-magic shield that extends over the century in combat.
That could be one
Now, these
solution.
standards were magic items created by a cult of mysteries deep within the Republic and distributed to the legions as eagles to top their standards. Beyond being a symbol of their honor, this eagle now means so much more to the soldiers of the Legion. It's their lifeblood. Without the eagle, enemy magicians can now work freely on them. The thing about magic in D&D is at lower levels, which most in-world spellcasters are, magic is a pretty short-range tool. Fireball has a range of about 150 feet. A longbow has a range of around 600 feet in-game, and in real life it could be closer to 1,000 feet. Now granted, Roman legions weren't the biggest utilizers of the bow and arrow, preferring slings and javelins, but their auxiliary forces used them a lot, as did their Gallic enemies in this period. What the Romans did have was artillery in the form of catapults and ballista, weapons with the effective firepower of a wizard's fireball, but with much greater range and the ability to be mass-produced. With those two elements combined, anti-magic standards and artillery support, the legions are able to counter two great advantages their enemies have. However, that's not the only trick up their enemies' sleeves. The other major component of ancient warfare was cavalry superiority, and in a world with flying mounts and bird races, we also need to consider air superiority. As we mentioned, the legions typically don't use large numbers of archers outside of auxiliary forces, which means that their enemies could use Aarakocra forces to constantly harass the legions from the air. The legion could deal with this in a few ways. 1. When fighting an enemy with Aarakocra, they can employ a greater number of archer auxiliaries. 2. We could introduce an elite griffin riding unit to the Legion, but I'd imagine their numbers would be small and they'd need to be used very strategically on the battlefield. A commander would likely be loath to risk them in small skirmish operations. So 3. The legions could employ their own Aarakocra auxiliaries. This combined with
Yeah, the thing is, except for the airfolk, just other birds to kill the other birds, everything else is irrelevant. Because you can fly higher than a bow can shoot. Simple as that. And you can drop a stone from a way higher advantage point than a bow can shoot you. So, just other flyers, that's the only thing. Everything else,
the
irrelevant.
additional archer auxiliaries would be most likely the direction that the Legion would take, because it's essentially what they did historically when dealing with enemies that had cavalry superiority. They just hired cavalry to do the job for them. Of course, there are really interesting dynamics at play when you rely heavily on auxiliaries to counter your enemies. If the auxiliaries are coming from cultures similar to your enemies, and it becomes more obvious that your goals are less protect the borders of the Republic and more take over a huge swath of new territory, the source of those auxiliaries might dry up and join the enemy, putting the Legion in a situation where they may need to import new auxiliary forces from further corners of the Republic, which means more cost and more time to replenish forces. One advantage that the enemies of the Legion in this region have that would be difficult to overcome are the Druids. The ability to weaponize the land, both flora and fauna, would be an impressive tool, especially in guerrilla warfare. They could quickly grow food to feed an army, communicate between forces using animal messengers, and create difficult terrain to guard retreats. They could summon animals to harry Legion outriders. This is the main strength of a fantasy.
Yet, the fantasy, everything's possible. You could, but what if an archer has like a spell that makes their arrows travel faster and longer, or enhance their bows? Flying isn't so relatable. The thing is, as soon as you get in magic spells, everything's possible. If you don't have certain rules, everything could be. It could also be that the flying creatures just have an anti-magic thing that disturbs the arrows and shoots them back at the shooters. There is a lot of what ifs. I am staying in the realm of if you don't have magic that can just do instantly everything you have, because, well, you could also just have a magician, a death magician, that just says, okay, you're dead. And that's all. Or I think in Aragon was a pretty nice thing where you could actually, with a spell, just, how's it called, cut off the string between your head and your body, the nerves, like in the backbone, in the neck bone, and, well, the enemy's just done. It's an end. It has an end to it. It's just done. So yeah, there is a, like, magic makes everything complicated if it doesn't have any rules to it.
Fantasy Gallic analog, and it's a strategy I could see Vercingetorix using, since he was famous for his guerrilla-style war against Caesar. I could go on forever spitballing about scenarios that could come up due to the fantasy setting, and then come up with ways the Legion would deal with them in-universe, using the strategies and philosophies they used historically. That could be my whole Saturday night, and often has been. The key takeaway that I hope you get from this is to be excited to ask and answer these sorts of questions, either for your own fantasy story or your D&D game. I'd try to get you not to do the Hollywood thing of hand-waving away the most interesting parts of your world just to get that one cinematic moment. I think you'll find you'll get much more buy-in from both your readers and your players if you respect the world you've built, because then it feels worth it to invest their time and energy into it as well. Thanks so much for watching.
Yeah, the thing also is, it's just... you need to follow some rules with the entire thing. That's all. If you have rules there, then it's fine. Those AI-produced things, adventurer tier, a lizard. Okay, fair enough. Damn. But yeah, it's complicated. Magic just does so many things wrong or good, or it complicates things. It's either you get it or you don't get it. Magic just, if I had to build up a freaking world like that, I just would have heavy rules with magic in the entire thing, because you can make a lot of mistakes and make it boring very fast. Or the questions of why didn't they just do this? Because, well, it makes freaking sense. So yeah. And in Aragon it was basically because other magicians or magic wielders counter those magic wielders, so they cannot instantly off your entire army in one snippet of the freaking finger. So yeah, there's that. But let's go for the next one. The War on Beauty. This was from an acolyte, by the way. And the entire thing is, men are better artists than women. I'm not sure about this one. I think yes. But let's hear her out. I mean, I found the perfect photo from the start. Damn.
James Davis, and welcome to the War on Beauty.
Aww.
So you can
Oh, that's a
probably
nice
tell
one.
what this video is about if you read the title and you clicked on it. So let's just jump right into what is probably going to be a very controversial video, which is men are better artists than women, and that men disowning their creative nature has contributed to an erasure of beauty in our.
Yes, she's so correct. She's so correct about that one. Because men see, I mean, beauty in men's creations is a bit different than in women, I would say. Women literally focus on just so it is pretty, while men focus on the practical part of the creation. And I think that the practical part of the entire thing is just, well, you can reflect it in your everyday life by working in or in a way that actually reflects that. So yeah.
Our world. My answer to the famous question posed by Linda Nochlin in her 1971 essay, "Why are there no great women artists?" is because men are superior to women in art, poetry, prose, painting, sculpture, architecture, and even interior and fashion design and film. And let me just preface this video with saying that I studied art history my whole life, and I got a degree in art history from a top university and was bought into this prevailing notion that women were systematically kept out of the arts because of elitist white men who ran the art system, which is why there were few women artists of note. But over time, I've come to believe that this is not the reason that there's not great women artists. It's just that simply men are naturally better at the creative act. And actually that the creative act in itself is essentially male. But also that women serve an incredibly important function in the art made by men. And this natural synergy between men and women in the arts, with men as the doer and the woman as the muse, is exactly what generated incredible beauty in our world.
Yes. Yes. This is... I like this. Yes, why not? Why not? And I always say, work together as a team, not against each other. If you have a woman that's better in art than a man, okay, fair enough. I don't care. But if you have a man that actually knees in and does it, he needs motivation. A man will get shit done if the man has motivation. It doesn't matter what it is. Yes, it is an interesting theory. But let's see how she will present her point, because I personally believe it, but hey, it is what it is.
But in our contemporary society, having this opinion is seen as just flat out wrong. And it's something still.
And by the way, I would say that women have more creative energy for beauty, but that men can just focus it out better.
Kind of ingrained in me that even saying this out loud feels weird, but I'm saying it anyway. And I think that's because we are taught, not even just in art history, but just everywhere, we're taught that men and women can do the exact same things, and that we're endowed with basically the same ability.
Yes, she's correct, but that's such bullshit. There are just differences between the two genders. It is what it is. Embrace them, don't vilify them. It's fine.
Capabilities, and talents. And I think that that's easier. It's easier to go against that idea of the equality of the sexes when you're specific.
Wait, men and women are of course equal in their value and worth, but They are naturally fill different roles and have very different talents, which happen to be beneficial to each other. On point. Yes. Here you got it. This woman is on point. Perfect.
Typically talking about physical capabilities, but it's a lot less easy and a lot trickier when talking about intellectual or creative differences. So how I got onto this topic in the first place? Well, as usual, I was scrolling social media on TikTok and on X, and I kept seeing this recurring thing about girlfriends making fun of their boyfriends' apartments or what they picked out at Home Goods. And then I saw tweets and comments back to those videos by men, I'm assuming, saying, oh my gosh, don't get a girlfriend. They'll literally make you gay and feminize you and take you to Home Goods and make you get a bed frame. And this discourse is actually very revealing because both of these points of view are wrong. The first opinion, which is usually the opinion held by women, is that men are aesthetically challenged. And
Oh, I heard that all the time for a while. No, it's just both have different things that they like, that they disagree on or agree on, and it's just... no.
And women are the arbiters of taste. The second opinion, it's usually the idea held by men, is that men being interested in interior design and aesthetics is gay or feminine, which is equally incorrect. And another side misconception associated with both of these thoughts is that a man even being into those things is a man being in touch with his quote-unquote feminine side. Design and arts and creative expression in every sense and every field has come to be associated or seen as the domain of women. But on the whole, the greatest artists and designers and creatives throughout history have always been men.
Correctly, she's 100% correct about this. Yes. And as Oracleft, a barb is coming up. Oracleft dungeon, first get the necessities, then the luxuries later. Yes, exactly. That's how a lot of men think. And we also, most men, won't freaking make the apartment pink. I like... Well, let's just say different stuff. I am an edgelord, acolytes. I am a full-on edgelord, so you might imagine that a a painting with the Grim Reaper where it says "nice life you have there" is a motivating thing for me. Just saying.
Think about, for example, and this is kind of an interesting example, I think, but Thomas Jefferson. He actually was a great aesthete and designer. He spent his life building and designing Monticello. Monticello, by the way, was his house. From the exterior to every last detail on the interior. And this home is now one of the most famous homes in the whole world. Or even think about Sir John Soane in England. He was a neoclassical architect whose home is an incredible example of a deep aesthetic sense and pure love for beauty. As feminism and the general topsy-turvying and blurring of gender roles has occurred over the past century especially, the great innate aesthetic strength of men has been disowned, which has actually contributed to the uglification of the world. And as I said, broken that great symbiosis of beauty that existed between men and women in the past, back when the genders embodied their natural roles in the creative act. So that's a lot of exposition to kind of get to me actually making my case for this claim.
Fair enough.
I would say that the first...
Woman, just do it. You're on the right path here, in my opinion. Yeah, I'm just gonna sub it if this is on point. by now.
Strongest point in support of the fact that men are better artists than women is that men are historically so good at art. Shakespeare, Da Vinci, Michelangelo, Dante, Bernini, Vermeer, Caravaggio, Mozart, Bach, Tolstoy, and even contemporary examples like Stanley Kubrick, David Bowie, Bob Dylan, and I could really go on and on forever just listing the great male artists. But now try to name a great woman artist, and you really have to cherry pick over a large course of history.
I actually have one. The same woman that actually did the smiling glitch himself, or this art, the PNG thing you're seeing on the screen right now, but I don't know if I can say her name here, so I'm not gonna.
To find those names, and the names are a lot less renowned. There's Elizabeth Vigée-Lebrun, there's Angelica Kauffman, Artemisia Gentileschi, Berthe Morisot, and Georgia O'Keeffe. But these women's work just does not compare to the output and sheer beauty of the work made by men. And neither does this mean that women are intellectually inferior. It means that women have a different role. Women are just different than men, not just physically, but in other ways as well. And that's okay. That's completely fine. Men are the superior creatives because creation in itself is a male act. This, of course, is seen all through nature, with the most profound example being God, the Father, and the creator of the universe and everything in it. When we look at creation, there's really no denying that God is the greatest artist, and God is male. And then after that, men are the ones who create children in an active way, while women receive and foster that child in their womb. And this dynamic is directly mirrored in art from basically the beginning of art history through to the 19th century. Men actively made beautiful art, and women were largely the inspiration and subject matter of that beautiful art. From Helen of Troy to Beatrice and Emma Hart. And walk into any museum, even today, a lot of what's up on the walls are women. In fact, think of the Virgin Mary, who is the most depicted woman in art, and next to her son Jesus Christ is probably the most depicted person, period. But this is woman's natural role. It's as the muse, as the depicted, and as the receiver. And it takes both men and women in their respective roles for this generative dynamic to work. As Kenneth Clark points out in his great episode of his Civilization series, he says, "It's a curious fact that the male religions have produced very little religious imagery. In most cases, have positively forbidden it. That great religious art of the world in every country is deeply involved with the female principle. And that is because the female principle inspires love, which is a great, if not the greatest driver of beauty. Whether that be a romantic love or a motherly love or spiritual love."
Yes, I would even add to a father's love is also something that's in there, or just because a lot of people actually call the priest's father. It's not just the Abrahamic part of it. It's ingrained everywhere. Love is ingrained everywhere. I also love my acolytes. It's more of a I need your body to resurrect it afterwards love, but it's nonetheless love.
Edmund Burke even says in his wonderful book, The Philosophical Inquiry into the Sublime and Beautiful, that beauty inspires love. But it's a specifically non-possessive yet soft and submissive love. So actually museums and art history are filled with women. But on canvas, in stone, in poems, in prose, and even in architecture. Think about the great cathedrals of the world, as Kenneth Clark says says in that episode, they were built to be the Virgin's home on Earth, and their layouts were actually literally modeled on her body, which I just think that is so incredible. How is that not amazing? And such a beautiful way to honor and even venerate women. And I think it's fair to say that the female principle, as Kenneth Clark calls it, in a lot of cases is the actual beauty of the work. But in the 20th century, the feminist art historians like Linda Nochlin came and said that this wasn't right and that this was actually even objectification. The basic idea put forth was that there were...
Of course. An feminist says that this is objectification. What else? Who would have thought that one of the blue-haired ladies would say that this is in fact something bad, objectification, not teamwork, not a show of love. It's bad, pfui. And you should actually be ashamed of feeling that way. Of course.
There were no great women artists because the system of art purposely excluded them. Women couldn't easily join academies like the Royal Academy. They were limited in access to nude models or apprenticeship opportunities, and they basically just weren't fostered from a young age like their male counterparts. And Nochlin goes on to attempt to downplay the idea of artistic genius. That genius at all is basically a myth, and that it almost accounts for nothing in an artist, that nature is entirely subordinate to nurture. She says, it seems probable that the answer as to why there have been no great women artists lies not in the nature of individual genius or the lack of it, but in the nature of given social institutions and what they forbid or encourage in various classes or groups of individuals. And she also says that this is maybe the reason there are more great women writers, because there were less institutional barriers to a woman writing. As Virginia Woolf said, all
For F's sake, these days we even have institutions that prefer the female, part of our, humanity. Female, or let's just say irrelevant, the female part. And yet, we still don't see any positive outcomes out of it. On the contrary, the freaking self-ending rate has gone up in females to a big degree. So freaking hell, no, it's not how this works. That's irrelevant. It might be hard for some to understand without having experienced the meaning or emotion behind the rendition we see present to the art of Folidis. Yes, exactly, it is. It is hard to understand. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, the entire thing is hard to understand anyway, because you have to actually knee in, have some freaking experience with it, and then live it to a certain degree. And live socially, especially socially. And if you don't do that, you don't have the experience with it. Honestly, modern artists are bad, regardless men or women. There is no life in the modern art, there is no love, no passion behind it, and just random crap. Instinctively, I would agree with you that yes, there is no passion and love in modern art. It's just, there are exceptions. But the rule is that there is no passion, love, or life, even life in it. There just isn't. It's just a thing where people just want to print money with. I mean, for F's sake, the banana on the wall. But on the other hand, you have that guy that actually just makes some graffiti on the wall and has a very high message behind it. I just don't remember how he's called. And it's actually, you can see that he actually gave a fuck and did everything good. I just don't remember how he's called, for F's sake. I am mad at me for this one right now. He also went to Ukraine, shredded a thing, shredded one of his artworks. He sold for a couple $100 his artwork just was cloned. He went in as a beggar, nobody knew him, and wanted to sell his art. Nobody wanted it until he actually said, yep, that's me, and suddenly the art was worth a lot. So yeah, it's a lot of subjectivity in the art world, nonetheless. The modern is kind too narrow with its audience and lacks a capability to reach more wide spectrum of audience. Yes, correctly. Yes. Because if you have an art piece that is made with love, with life, with a certain bravura, a lot of more people, that there is a higher amount of people that actually get inspired by it or like it, just can see it with a smile and just enjoy it. And this is just not a given in modern art these days. It's very rare.
All a woman needed to write was basically a room of her own and some money. But I'm not really convinced on Naucklin's point about women writers, because there's still dramatically fewer women writers. There's no female equivalent to Shakespeare. And also to the previous point, there's been a lot of examples of great male artists who were outside of the traditional academic institutions and who also didn't paint nudes. They didn't paint history paintings. They painted other things. Think about Vermeer. He didn't paint nudes, and yes, he was in a guild, but you cannot look at a Vermeer and say, he's not a genius. Or even a Van Gogh.
Correctly.
He's not famous for painting history paintings or nudes, which were considered to be the highest form of art back then. You would not say that these men are not geniuses and that they don't deserve to be counted as some of the most high, important, and successful painters.
Yeah, but the comparison is a bit... I understand the point, what she made, but also you have to see the tools that they had at that point. They don't have the tools that we have these days to actually make art. There is a gigantic difference of, well, drawing those days and drawing these days. For F's sake, we even use specific hairs for a brush to have the best result in a painting. It could be a result of how people have closing more off of others in general public around. And yes, that's also a point of... for the last thing we talked about, yes, the social thing is gone. The social part isn't there. The isolation destroyed, well, basically a generation of actually socializing with each other, and they don't know how. And everything is influenced by that. Everything is influenced by people actually socializing with each other.
Okay, so now this essay was written in 1971, which at this point is over 53 years ago, and since then, society has undergone a profound shift in almost every way. Women are no longer shackled, as the feminists might say, to marriage or children.
There are no excuses. None left. There just aren't.
Do what they want, and many women have taken up this new so-called liberation. So much so that now it's estimated that 45% of women will be single and childless by 2030. On top of being at liberty to do whatever they want, women are in fact given preferential treatment over men, especially white men, not just at a societal, cultural level, but at an institutional level as well. So our world is very, very different, perhaps, than 1971 when Naucklin was writing her essay, and we can practically look around and see how her hypothesis is working out. The conditions to foster great female artists are here. And not only that, but it's been at least 2 generations for these changes to seep in. It's been 2 generations since Naucklin wrote her essay. But what creative artistic genius have women exhibited? The only thing that's really happened by the feminization of the arts and aesthetics is the natural process of beauty generation and creation has been suspended, leading to a constriction of the overall creativity of both men and women, and therefore an uglification of the world. Where women were once the muse, they're now the anti-muse. It was once love that created beauty, but that love between men and women is really being drained. And I'm starting to actually think that men back in the 1700s, for example, when Edmund Burke were writing, not only were not oppressing women, but that they genuinely loved them. Like when you read Burke on beauty, he speaks so highly of women that they are the highest bearers of beauty and perfection. And to behold a woman is to feel love, not in a lustful or possessive way, but in a way of just pure admiration. So in conclusion, I think that we need to get back to the natural roles of women and men in every way, including in the dynamic of art and beauty, and that men have to rediscover their natural aesthetic sense and not think that it's something feminine, but realize that it's actually an incredibly important and disowned aspect of masculinity. I think that only in this way will the proper force and upward energy be created that is necessary in bringing beauty back, not just on an individual level, but on a societal level. So
on freaking point. Yes. And you can tell it way simpler. Work together, not against each other. It's so simple.
So I would love to know your thoughts on this. I know that this is a very controversial topic. I know
It
that.
shouldn't be.
But I would love to know, do you think that there's something to men being superior artists throughout history, or do you agree more with Linda Nochlin and that the societal barriers and things like
I'm gonna instantly say this. If you agree with Linda, think about what you're actually doing. But yes, over the history, yes, of course, men were the better artists. It's just a fact. Now, I would say that men are the better artists, but women are the muses. And the combination of both has the best results. So just continue that. Work together. Don't work against each other, just work together. We can do it. The pendulum is swinging anyway. Let's just hope it stays in a positive way. But hey, fair enough. I actually quite heavily agree with her on a lot of stuff. Cannot say, yeah, it's fair. Damn. No, I don't. I want to do this one. Because the Bojack Horseman one, I don't even know how it went into this. But hey, this is what it is. Refuting bad takes on culture. Let's do the assassination thing later.
Have you ever?
Hell yeah. This is one that I actually want to do very, very badly. Elden Ring drama. Now I I actually want to do Elden Ring drama. Well, because it's funny. I myself am a Dark Souls or Souls-likes enjoyer to a very heavy degree. And just seeing people going at each other's throats, especially in Elden Ring, is just too funny for me. And only waifu is a freaking legend if it comes to actually explaining mechanics and the drama. It's a lot easier to build something when working together, but it doesn't require more than one to tear things down. On point, my friend. Yes. On point, Oracleft. On point. One bad apple makes the entire batch, or destroys the entire batch. But let's go for something funny right now. Let's just go for only waifu. Here, Elden Ring drama. Elden Ring drama and the Dunning-Kruger effect. To enjoy those games lore. Hey, the lore, yes. Also, exactly. And the way you obtain it. Because it's you have to piece it together. I love that.
Have you ever noticed how the people who know the least are always the most confident?
Where?
On point, yes. I have noticed that. Yes, because people actually don't know how bad they are actually fucking up. Starting with a banger.
Where is Steel from? Do you know? Oh, she hit him.
Steel's from Poland.
Oh, yeah. Fucking duh. Of
It's
course
okay.
he's
When I
laggy.
Souls in general, but PvP specifically, is a goldmine for this kind of behavior. And last year's Twitch Rivals tournament gave us some of the most exasperating examples I've ever seen. So when I was busy clapping excuses cheeks, some other corners of Twitch were molded in ways I've been wanting to talk about for a long time, because I just love these types of topics. For those unfamiliar, Twitch Rivals hosted 2 Elden Ring tournaments to celebrate the release of Shadow of the Earth.
Yep. And by the way, for those who don't know, XQC actually went in a Elden Ring tournament, and only waifu actually went in and destroyed him, basically. So yeah, there was a thing here. And it was beautiful.
There was a PvE tournament, a sort of treasure hunt thing, and a much more simple PvP tournament. Throw hands and whoever remains with the ass intact wins. While I was doing my thing in the PvP tournament, Silovsky, an Elden Ring PvP content creator, was fighting Jess Capricorn and Lil Aggie, a variety streamer and a challenge runner respectively. Since Steel is a PvP content creator and pretty much plays PvP for a fucking living, it was expected of him to win these matches, and so he did. But for some reason, gamers took that personally, acting as if Steel committed some sort of war crime while at the same time throwing very weird excuses of why he won and the other participants lost. Many of the comments on Twitch chat.
Oh, that's so cheese, that's dumb, that's so dumb, the shit is, they shouldn't be banned, this... No, F off. If somebody's better, the person's better. It's done. And by the way, I play a magic build in Elden Ring. In the community, it's literally seen as pussy-like. But, from my experience, F off, it's fun. I like it, and I like even summons there, so bite me. And if someone's better than me in PvE, so be it. It's a game, I'm gonna play it as it's fun. If you have a tournament like this, well, the guy was better than the other guy, the PvP player, duh, was better than the PvE player, duh, in PvP, duh, for fuck's sake. Yes, he's gonna be better. Mark me as surprised. Damn those dumb... Ugh.
Are extremely ignorant and seem very copy, despite the confidence in which they make their remarks. But why is this the case? Well, turns out there's an actual psychological reason with a name that explains why they do it. Yeah, leave it to the PvP content creator to associate a psychological thing with something so fucking inconsequential as fucking doesn't ring PvP. So before we dive deep into the cesspool, let me tell you a little story. In 1995, a man named MacArthur Wheeler robbed 2 banks with no mask to conceal his identity, and his face was also covered in lemon juice. The dude even smiled at the cameras before exiting the fucking premises. But the guy expressed extreme shock and disbelief at the fact that he was caught in the first place. When police questioned him about it, he said that he didn't understand how he was caught because he was supposed to be invisible. You see, Wheeler knew that lemon juice could be used as invisible ink when writing on paper, which can be revealed by heating. And he knew so little about why that worked, and he knew so little about how cameras work, that he assumed with extreme confidence that lemon juice could make him invisible to the cameras. Seriously. He even tested it before committing the robberies by taking a picture of himself, but the dumbass pointed the camera the other way and thought the experiment worked when looking at the fucking picture. Wheeler was an extreme example and was the inspiration for the Dunning-Kruger effect, a psychological phenomenon where people with low ability in a domain overestimate their competence because they lack the very knowledge needed to recognize how little they know about the topic. And since I know you're a smart poggy,
Yeah, that's basically how it works. A game with a magical build makes you enjoy it more, then you play a magic build and enjoy it. I agree with that. And sorry, because I already answered this question, but I forgot to actually activate my mic because my dogs barked, and I basically talked to the void. So yeah. Forgot it was a hot sunny day, so the lemon juice wouldn't work. Fair enough.
I believe you get where I'm going with this.
Liar.
But just in case, let me explain. Let's start with the first example, when Stilovsky fought Jess Capricorn. Jess seemingly made no comment about the fight, but her teammate, Variety Streamer X, seems to disapprove of the outcome. Let's see why.
Oh my god, it's so laggy. What the hell? This is crazy. I don't understand how you're supposed to make this fair when dude, he's so laggy. That's so bad. Jesus. I don't even know what you do there. He's all over the screen. There's
yeah, and that's the problem. You don't know what they are doing there. For F's sake, they're running, dodging around to actually do the guy that is running around with the two weapons, with one quick weapon to step and parry attacks, and with a big weapon just in case the other guy actually hits. So the great weapon one has actually some I don't remember how it's called, like the frames where you don't, like if you attack and somebody else attacks you, so the frames, you don't break the attack but you still continue attacking. It's actually quite clear, and I'm not even a pro at it.
like you did your best with what you could do.
Some of those hits on you were fucking like, what are you talking about? The range was just.
Where is Steel from? Do you know? Oh, she hit him.
Steel's from Poland.
Yeah. Oh yeah, fucking duh.
It's okay. Oh, and he got rotted.
He's in. Yes. And? Jak ci kurwa jebnę, to zobaczysz.
Oh, it's over.
It should be restricted to NA. That's crazy. Like, dude knows he's so fucking laggy, and I feel like that's so messed up. They're not.
Yeah, he even uses freaking quick spells that actually cover our entire, like, Flesh and Shan and AoE damage. That's the best thing you can do in a freaking PvP match. A quick spell that covers a lot of AoE, just because you have a higher chance of actually hitting or the other person effing up their roll. The one person is just equipped for a duel, the other one is equipped for, well, bullshit.
They're not gonna DQ him. They don't give a shit. It's not like it's for that much money, so they truly don't care. I can't believe that they didn't think about this. I would have rather, like, honestly, this is great and all, but I would have rathered continued like an achievement hunt than do PvP where it's like obvious that there's gonna be lag issues no matter what.
First of all, I need to half agree with something she said. Fighting laggy opponents is ass.
Yes.
However, the issue with Steel was not lag, it was latency.
Exactly.
There was a bit of packet loss here and there in this part of the clip, which kinda makes me sound like a fucking idiot, but trust me, it was inconsistent. Lag is not the same as latency. Latency is caused by the in real life distance between players, and it goes both ways.
Yes.
That's how peer-to-peer matchmaking works.
Exactly.
Both players will experience the same latency with each other at every point during the match. The way latency works in this game is that basically you are seeing what your enemy was doing X amount of milliseconds ago. That's why your hits seem to take time to register, because on their screen you didn't hit them yet. Not until a few milliseconds later. This is why Phantom Hit, the range that guy with X was talking about.
Some of those hits on you were fucking like, what are you talking about? The range was just
happens. You actually got hits on your enemy screen and then moved away, but from your perspective, It seems like the dude was attacking the air and hit you somehow. The inverse can also
Yes.
happen, where the enemy missed an attack on their screen, and then a few milliseconds later you walked into the space where their weapon was just a few moments ago, and you just, like, phased through it. This is called negative spacing, and it's a common tactic in PvP. High latency also
Yes,
makes roll catching
exactly.
extremely difficult or nigh impossible, because
Exactly, she's on point. And by the way, I think that the latency thing is bullshit, but it's how you play. They are on point. That's why the PvP player won, because he knows his shit. He's used to do PvP, skilled enough to time with the latency, and exactly correct. Yes, on point. He's used to it because he plays PvP. He had 1001 situations where this was profit, or where he could learn this, and he did. Fair enough.
Because if you try to land a roll catch during the vulnerable frames of a roll on high latency, the hit detection will be delayed, and if they roll again,
Yes.
it will land on the iframes of their next roll. You see this happening all the time in PvP, where you can actually hear the attack connecting during the guy's roll, but no damage is dealt. And that
Yes.
sucks huge spiky balls.
It does.
It feels like victory is getting stolen away from you. And something else you may want to keep from being stolen from you is your private information.
Let's see what she says. Because I only know her GOG thing, so yeah.
So if what you crave is a safer online experience, Surfshark is the VPN you're looking for. Surfshark is a virtual private network that enhances online security and privacy by routing your internet traffic through a secure server,
Hell
while
yeah.
also encrypting your connection, hiding your IP address and location, making it nigh impossible.
And by the way, Surfshark, from what I know, is actually good. I personally don't use it, but I had a lot of people actually using it, or know people that actually use it, so, you know, take that as you want, but a VPN is these days, let's just say, I would say maybe not necessary, but I would say do it. So, bolas to her. Yeah.
Streaming services only offer shows in Spanish dubs, so I like to use Surfshark to watch the original material. And you can safely try this as well, because with Surfshark's 30 days money-back guarantee policy, you don't even have to worry about anything. Simply give Surfshark for sponsoring this video.
Good. She actually did a jump in there. That's freaking awesome. I have to learn how this is done. Well, I won't have any freaking things like this in my videos, because it's a reaction video, first of all, and second of all, it, in my opinion, destroys the flow of the entire thing, so there's that. And by the way, if you get any kind of thingybob verbong here, yeah, that's automatic. I have to do it, so sorry about that.
So when fighting in high latency, you can't really account for reactionary spacing, and you can't really roll catch reliably. Two things that are very fundamental in PvP and kinda made the difference when regarding the skill of both players. Now, considering all of this, let me ask you, what do you exactly mean by he's Polish? How is this fair?
Like,
Yes, how do you mean it he's Polish? How is this fair? I don't know. She talks about Surfshark, and half the time I hear the Jotims. Teren. Fair enough, yes.
dude knows he's so fucking laggy, and I feel like that's so messed up.
What's the unfair part? Latency goes both ways. Both players are fighting under the exact same conditions. Both Jess and Steel need to adapt their playstyles to adjust for latency. I want to show you something pretty fucking funny. When I was checking the footage from Steel's POV of the fight to see how bad latency was, the first fucking hit from Jess is this fucking abomination.
That's quite big.
He got hit from a fucking mile away. Did next say anything about this? La puta madre me descojono, chaval. Look, you are saying this as if Steel was secretly and maliciously abusing the fact that he was born in Poland, as if it was some sort of cheating or weird advantage. It sounds very salty, dumb, and ignorant. And speaking of ignorancy, I think the most ignorant part of her speech, and the part where the Dunning-Kruger effect comes into play, are the implications. Were you trying to imply that, had Steel been in North America, where Jess is, Jess could have possibly won the match? Do you really think that if Steel was able to properly space Jess and punish all of her mistakes on reaction, he would have had a harder time fighting her? I mean, the chances of Steel losing are never zero, but it's actually the other way around. If anything, no latency favors Steel tremendously, because now his reactions and punishings would be even faster and harsher. He would have not only
Correctly, he would freaking...
won, he would have stumped the match in a few seconds. Pretending otherwise isn't analysis, it's fucking denial. And denial, dressed up as moral high ground, is exactly how the Dunning-Kruger effect shows itself. X really believed that the only reason Chess lost that match was because Steel had high latency, when the reality is that Steel is just the better player. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with losing either. Just don't make up dumb excuses to, like, get your ego to not be bruised or some shit. Elden Ring
I mean, we are exactly at the point where it's... If you're a Polish guy, you know, you're, like, in Poland, you are a Chad of the Chads, as it seems, but it's just racist. It's... I don't use it actually like that. I don't like to using it, but it's definitively a racist statement. Let's not kid ourselves. Also irrelevant. As a Polish lich, I don't care. If she thinks that that's the reason, good. If she thinks that Polish people are superior to her, fair enough. I don't care. So, Warcraft, what's unfair? Him being Polish, or that he's Polish his skills by playing a game of he enjoys Polished? He Polished. He didn't polish, he Polished his skills of a game he enjoys. I think I'm gonna get that. And no, there isn't anything unfair. It's just copium and just being, I don't know, like seeing somebody you want to win, losing, and then coping about it for no freaking reason. It's just how a lot of people actually work. I mean, not everybody can just accept the matter of the fact that the thing happens as it happens.
PvP content creators are used to fighting opponents from all over the world. They need to know how to fight against low and high latency. There are builds and strategies that work really well on low latency, but are dog shit on high latency, and vice versa. Disregarding this skill set as a roll of the dice feels ignorant as shit, and only makes you look like a salty loser. There's nothing wrong with simply accepting that Steel knows how to fight in high latency, and just move on, be a good sport. But speaking of salty losers, I think it's time we get into the second Twitch Rivals incident, with Aggie being the center of it, but he wasn't the salty loser in this case. His chat was. Easy points, even though X comments were...
It should be restricted to NA, that's crazy.
Well,
they're not gonna DQ him. They don't give a shit. It's not like it's for that much money, so they truly don't care.
Well, I won't sugarcoat it. They were fucking stupid. But they're still a bit understandable because she and her audience are not so focused. The lack of knowledge is kind of expected. Ice Chat, on the other hand, is used to seeing the guy perform the craziest fucking challenges known to man in Elden Ring, so it's not like they are unfamiliar to Elden Ring and its shenanigans. Yet, they still made sure to type the most moronic chat messages you will ever see during their PvP fight and make a fucking clown of themselves.
Yeah.
I know it.
And by the way, because they think that having a PvE focused channel or doing PvE focused things is the same as doing PvP focused things. No, those are two entirely different things. Those are two different skills you need. You need a different wealth of knowledge and timing in PvE than in PvP. I just don't get why it is that hard to understand. And yes, there are some people that are better in PvE, and there are some people that are better in PvP. So what?
May just be a Twitch chat syndrome thingy, but that doesn't negate the fact that these messages are fucking atrocious. I know how as soon as the fight starts and Steel opens with a great bow, you can already see a comment slipping in there. As if there was something wrong with that, with fucking using a great bow. My fucking god, these people. Aggie was using the Meteoric or Greatsword, one of the stronger colossal swords in the game, while Steel was using different setups to counter him. Remember that there was high latency here. Weapons with hyper armor like the one Aggie is using are very good in these cases, and he happens to have one of the strongest ones in the game. So Steel decided to pull out the Shield 9 Finger plus Synceria combo, as Fingerprint is a good counter to Colossals. And holy fuck, the chat started losing their minds. Green Shield? Not banning Great Shield or Colossal is insane. How was Fingerprint not banned? LOL.
Are you serious?
I'm sorry, I must have been missing some sort of meta memo. Why should it be banned? Was there a mysterious hidden patch I wasn't aware of that made Fingerprint unbeatable back then? Because as far as I know, Starfist with the Hammer Talisman plus the Cake Ash of War is an insane counter to it. All I had to do was switch to either that or a Reaper to play aggressively against the Shield plus Dagger combo, as the Hyper Armor and Shield piercing properties of the Reaper are amazing against it. It is like that now, and it was like that.
Yes, and this is the part of knowledge that a lot of people are lacking. They just don't know that. I knew there is, like, I just played the game out of enjoyment and like to watch PvP scenes like that. I personally couldn't pull off, like, even 10% of the things that they did here in these PvP matches. But I know that behind the scenes, you have counters. And the fact that you can play, open your inventory, dodge in the same time, or just exchange your weapons so you match the weapon of the enemy and counter him is a freaking gigantic, big skill that you need to learn, that takes a lot of time to actually master, because you need the knowledge what your weapons do, you need the knowledge what the enemy's weapons do, how they use it in the situation that you are right in, and how to counter the weapons that they are using, how you can counter it. The next thing that comes with it is you have to know how the freaking latency will affect, or lags will affect the weapon. Can I change it differently? Can I exchange a spell that would be better in this situation? And this is the knowledge or the flexibility that a PvE focused player just doesn't have. That's a PvP thing.
That back when this tournament was hosted. Steel Turtles under the shield, apply chief damage. Steel tries to mash, Hyper Armor will beat his mashing. Steel tries to guard counter, trade in your favor. Steel has latency, use status effects such as Poison or Scarlet Rot. You have all the tools at your disposal.
Yes.
Steel may also adapt to that, so then you change the strat as well. It's how PvP is usually played at higher levels. Pretending something you don't know how to counter is broken just makes you look like a goober. Also,
Exactly.
the comment, not banning Colossals is insane, is such a fucking stupid take, because guess what the fuck I was using, you absolute doorknob maker. But anyway, still switched to Gags in the end and finished the first fight rather quickly after that. This motherfucker in the Twitch chat said, exploiting life hit is pretty weak, probably because of the way Aggie died.
Oh, he swapped to the great sword.
Damn, what is that?
That's crazy.
That's
Dude,
crazy.
Damn.
That's what I said.
Crazy, dude.
How did he...
Freaking... Oh, the timing on that quick exchange was just beautiful. I love it.
get a hit there?
It was relatively close. I'll take that.
What was that, dude?
As if Aggie didn't also have the same issue from Steel's perspective, my god, ignorance brings us so many fucking funny moments. So, round 2 kicks in, and seeing that Aggie was gonna go for the same strat, Steel switches to Fingerprint plus Lance for shield poking plus status application to fight Aggie's high latency.
I think he's just gonna go for rot buildup over time with the lag hits, and then it'll eventually proc.
Yeah, that's what he's going for.
I can't believe if you ban everything, people will just eventually use the only broken thing still left. That's crazy.
This shield poking combo was far from being the most broken thing you could use in the tournament, by the way. I understand Aggie's frustration, but come on, my friend. You know the game. You know this is not the most broken thing you can pull off. Anyway, the fight continues as expected. Aggie gets fucking destroyed, and he didn't really like that very much.
Yeah, GG's.
Oh no!
GG's.
Bro, I literally called out that exact strategy before the tournament.
Well then, my little brother in Christ, why didn't you prepare for it?
Exactly! Why didn't you prepare for it? This is what I was talking about not even freaking 5 minutes ago. Being able to adapt to a situation and find a way to fight back is just a logical decision, even if nature is adapted or perish. Yes, it is. Exactly. But having the skill to pull it off is a skill. And he clearly doesn't have it.
You knew there was gonna be a high chance that people were gonna use shield poking, poison, or scarlet rot. What stopped you from having boluses, immunizing horde charms, or the spiral horn shield at the ready for these types of situations, as well as the tools necessary to deal with shield poking, such as, you know, the Kikash of War, Bolas, a Reaper. All you had to do was hard swap to them, and that would have been it. So why didn't you do it if you already knew? It's not like you don't know how to hard swap. You play this game for a living. Kind of a weird thing to say. In any case, Agi was a pretty good sport about it, overall. Can't really say the same thing for his chat though. Shield plus lag plus rot. Wow, amazing PvP. First of all, latency, not lag. Second, rot and shields are part of the game, and easily counterable too. What's the problem with them? You weren't complaining about Agi using an insane hyper armor weapon on high latency. That's okay, but shields or rot are not? Why? I fucking asked as if I was gonna get an answer. Holy shit. Why is this guy playing like this though?
Yeah, he's actually sweating.
Discúlpame, ¿perdón? Es un torneo por plata grandísimo, hijo de...
For money and... Yes, what the fuck? Yeah, he's actually sweating. No shit in a tournament. Yes. For money. Yes. No shit that somebody's sweating. Oh. This stupid freaking... Oh. Yeah, okay. Irrelevant.
De remil puta. Obvio que Steel va a jugar con absolutamente todo lo que pueda usar para ganar. ¿Sos pelotudo o te falta una porción del cerebro? La puta que me parió. Es un torneo. ¿Qué tiene que hacer Steelovski? Se tiene que quedar parado para que Lila y vaya y le coja el ojete. O sea, amigo, ¿qué es esa pregunta de por qué estás jugando así? Estás jugando así porque quiere ganar. En un torneo, por plata. Es como preguntarle a Mike Tyson por qué va y noquea al tipo en el primer round. Y para ganar la pelea de boxeo, pelotudito, obvio que va a jugar o va a pelear con todo lo que tiene. Por el amor de Dios, ¿qué te pasa? ¿Estás bien? ¿Todo bien en casa? Bobo.
¿Qué mira, bobo?
I don't even think hot swapping is lame. But there can be no skill gap in netcode this bad. Laugh out loud. He seems to be replying to someone who said that hard swapping is lame.
Yep, lame. Yes. Funny accent lich with a funny accent waifu. Absolute cinema, I agree with you. As it should be. As it always should be and will be forever.
I love how whenever there's a mechanic they can't master, it becomes lame or cheating in their eyes. He's also saying that there's no skill gap in high latency. While some skill expression is nullified, high latency typically benefits the worst player. And believe it or not, the skill gap does show, even on high latency. Steel won every fight because he knows how to adapt to other players and he knows how latency works. If it was always a 50-50 coin flip, then he must be one insanely lucky motherfucker because the odds of winning 12 coin flip matches in a row are 1 in 4,096. About 0.02% chance. I mean, he should just stop doing PvP and go he does roulettes in the fucking casino at this point. But of course, Twitch chat can't fucking see this because they lack the game knowledge to realize why Steel won. So they're pretty fucking confident in the verbal diarrhea they are spewing. The Dunning-Kruger effect claims more victims. Only this time by proxy, projecting themselves on Lil Laggy. But enough about the past. Let's go back to the future, where we can see that the Dunning-Kruger effect is still extremely prevalent in the Elden Ring community, mostly when it comes to invasions and PvP. You see, Souls games were always this weird mix of PvE and PvP, so it is only normal that many gamers seldom engage with the PvP part of the experience. It could be because they don't like it, or because they can't bother with it since it's not required to beat the game, whatever.
It's too frustrating for me personally. I just don't like the PvP, especially because of the latency thing. I just despise if I cannot influence something like at this level. If I have a fight, I want it to be fluid. That's all. And if I see like how they step, it's from a skill point perspective pretty good how they adapt to it. But I personally am pissed off as soon as it happens. Or to me. That's why not my thing.
Reason you want to think of. But despite a huge percentage of the player base not even engaging with PvP, everyone seems pretty fucking confident in their abilities to judge it. If you allow me to rewind a little bit, we did a video not too long ago about how many tourists in a Steelovski shot were saying the dumbest shit possible about the way he fought a Moonveil user. Things that are easily debunkable with the smallest amount of scrutiny and observation, yet here they are, claiming that...
Yeah, the thing is, you can have your opinion about something, but do not state it as a fact. That's the freaking difference. I don't state my things as a fact, it's my opinion about this. Or at least I try. Sometimes it just flips out and it still sounds like I am talking about a fact about the thing. But also I'm talking for, well, the entire day, so it may happen once or twice. And English is my third language, not even the second. Trilingual.
Was sweating, that he was fighting poor innocent unprepared PvEers that stood no chance against him due to the unfair invasion system, but that's extremely far from the truth. If you happen to engage with PvP for more than 15 fucking minutes, you will realize that fighting an invader as a team of 2 is one of the easiest things in the world, even more so in a team of 3. It's gonna sound extremely blunt, but losing against an invader as a team of 2 or 3 really is a skill issue, 95% of the time at least. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with not being good enough to beat an invader. What's wrong is to engage in the biggest gymnastics of your life, mental ones of course, because I just know these people are fucking fused to the church, just to not accept that someone outplayed you. The system is giving you all the tools to easily dispose of invaders. If you don't use them, that's on you. But of course, this will challenge many people's egos, and that's when the Dunning-Kruger effect kicks in. They think they know how to PvP, they think they know the ins and outs of victory, but they lost because either the invader was cheating or cheating in some way, or because the system is unfair. It's never their fault. The Dunning-Kruger effect isn't just ignorance, it becomes a psychological shield against admitting weakness. But listen, it's very normal for newcomers to not see the many layers of skill of a system you literally have never engaged with. You don't have to make confident excuses to explain why you lost on a system you don't interact with. The healthiest thing you can do is analyze why you lost, learn from that, and move on. Making confident remarks about shit you know nothing about will not only make you look like an idiot, it will also halt your growth as a human being. And if you're someone who is experienced with the system but still makes shitty confident excuses when things don't go your way, maybe you should reflect on yourself a little bit. It may sound exaggerated, but that's how the MacArthur Wheelers of the world start, making ignorant and confident remarks about the dumbest things, which then escalates into larger things, just for you to be immortalized as one of the biggest idiots in the history of mankind. So don't be like Wheeler, don't be like DSP, don't be like low-tier god, don't be like Pirate Software, don't be like Eggs, and don't be like Lil Ice Chat. Don't be the kind of person that will make you cringe when you see them online. Be someone who can watch, learn, and improve. Not just at games, but at everything in life. So yeah, I just wanted to yap about the Dunning-Kruger effect.
She is correct, by the way. The entire thing is just on point. And I can speak out of... I had only one game where I was really competitive. And this was in a game named Conqueror's Blade. I played Apolex. By the way, like a handful of people played this. It's just... you have troops behind you. There was a different skill behind it. And, well, I literally, actually got in, recorded my things, watched it, what I did wrong, what I did correct, reflected on this. Then I did this, then maybe this is this better, or against this class, or how can I most effectively go around my troops, and am I more of the damage dealer, tank, or supporter class? You just have to knee in and actually get better if you want to get better at stuff like this. But hey, a lot of people don't understand that, or they are not willing to actually invest the time for it and think that they deserve to win just because they exist. That's not how this works, Buttercup. The good old times. Yeah. But yeah, that's a bit of Elden Ring drama. I'm actually quite excited for Marvelous. They are doing some good... I just don't know if I can actually stream this. Gonna make a video about them specifically, how they talk about Berserk. Or maybe about the characters. Because they do a really good job. Ooh. If this wasn't an hour ago, I would react to this right now. No, this is for later.
But what...
but what about free speech after the Charlie Kirk situation? Just so you know, I am actually an arch fan. I watched him for a long time, especially his lore videos. I do not agree with every single thing politically with him, or he does, but his freaking lore videos are freaking on point. I love this guy as it is. He was actually the one that broke my inspiration where I just said, yeah, I want to start a YouTube channel because this looks like fun. So yeah, and this is, by the way, about Charlie Kirk, Stranger. I'm only gonna do one video about it, and this is from Arch, what he has to say about the free speech. And by the way, I think that free speech is very important, but it's not free speech to harass, to threaten, or do like really bad stuff, or say really bad stuff to to a different human being just because you don't like them, or celebrate the death of somebody.
What about free speech? Mules the left, now that it knows that every single rule, every standard, every law that it itself so eagerly chiseled into stone with which to prosecute its enemies is being turned around against itself.
Exactly, and I love it. It's just good. They despise it, and we should push as far as we can against the entire thing, because, sorry about that, I want my freaking freedom back. I want my freaking peace. And I don't want that freaks go around and take it away. I'm just not a fan of that. And if somebody wants to hunt me down with a spear, well then guess what? I'm gonna hunt the person back with a spear. I think that's a simple thing to understand.
As right-wing cancellation campaigns are now spreading across the internet. We see things like here, for example. We have sent over 300 emails to employers and have gotten 15 confirmed fired now.
Good.
DC has fired one of its authors.
Do as they would do to you, just double it. Fair enough.
People working for games companies have been fired over celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk.
Good.
And the Rolling Stone itself writes an article, people are losing their jobs for criticizing slain free speech advocate.
Bollocks, not criticizing, celebrating a death. You never do this. You never effing do this. Disagree with someone, that's fine. If it was somebody you disagree with, or even your enemy, you can be, even in my opinion, happy about them not being there. But never celebrate it. Never go to the widow. Never harass the people who actually just lost someone. Never do it. Disagree. You can see it as a positive thing, but do not freaking be an absolute freak about it. Show kindness, not hatred.
Charlie Kirk, as if to hold him up even now as a shield. Hey, isn't this one of your principles? Shouldn't we be allowed to say anything, no matter how heinous we want about you? Should we not be allowed to attack you, regardless of any tactics, strategies we so choose? And should you not be forbidden from fighting back? No, Rolling Stones. As you yourself said 2 years ago, cancel culture is good. So, fuck your freedom of speech in particular. And your freedom of speech is the important thing here. So,
yes, because those people don't understand normal human behavior or just talking to each other. Just try to be a normal human being, and we have no problems with each other. That's fine. I can disagree with 100 people, and that's fine. But don't hunt each other. Don't try to fire someone, because at some point people will get enough and then hunt you. And this is what's happening right now. And I just hope, I sincerely hope, that this won't just shoot up in a way where it will be way over the top. I just want it to stay in the ballpark that the other side opened. Do not go beyond it. But if it happens to them, to us, like, as I said, do the same to them +2, but do not go entirely over the ballpark. If this makes sense, because I'm so passionate about the entire thing, because we suffered under this for 2 fucking decades. And I'm so happy that it starts to shift. And you just have to bite in and just embrace the shift.
This semi-viral little tweet clearly shows that a chord is being struck with the general populace, and I know why. It is because all I in the right at large now appears to be asking for is, in essence, for the same rules to be applied to the left, who have not suffered any consequences of their actions, any consequence of their violent rhetoric, even as they've spent the last 10 years judging the right for lesser grievances and crimes.
Yes.
Quote unquote. And I know this because we are now seeing the exact same arguments that my side made 10 years ago bubble up on the left. Things like, for example, oh, you can't hold me responsible for saying this, this, and that because somebody acted upon it, because, well, I can't be held responsible for the actions of my audience. You know what? Again, 10 years ago, Pelosi, I might have agreed with you before you spend 10 years ignoring that and only using it when it becomes beneficial for your side.
Exactly. And this hypercriticism is the biggest effing point about the entire thing. Because as soon it happens to this side, to the other side, to the side that actually wanted this, that just proclaimed that it's a good thing, that told us that yes, we should do it because, well, we're gonna have something positive out of it. As soon as it hits them, then it's suddenly something bad. Well, Buttercup, we're in the ring now.
So, let's talk about this a little bit broader, shall we? As the left is now again attempting to hold up our virtues to shield their own heinous actions. You see, communist history videos. I represent no group, no party, just a comrade. All sectors of communism posted without judgment. So a communist account going, I'm all about absolute free speech, no cancel culture, and legal comedy, you snowflake libtard, says the MAGA. And then, fuck Charlie Kirk, rib bozo lol, I'm calling your employer to cancel you 14 seconds later. Try 14 years. Communist, you have been hiding behind the right-wing virtue of freedom of speech for a decade. But finally, at long last, you have managed to beat that last virtue out of the right. And you will not be allowed to hold it up to defend your actions any further.
Exactly.
You do not hold freedom of speech as a virtue. You don't like it. You don't value it.
Exactly, and this is the hypercriticism of it. We actually value it. We know that we can. We know the Grenzen. We know how to actually act between normal people. We actually try to do a good thing. They don't. They just want power.
And you certainly have never and will never defend it. So fuck your freedom of speech yet again. And now that we know that
I love this comment. Oracle. Him speaking sounds like he's writing a letter out loud with quill and ink in a 19th century's manner. Exactly. And this is something that I wish I could do. Because I love this kind of speech. I love how it sounds. And there are many creators who actually can do it. Sadly, I'm not one of those. But hey, I'm gonna do what I can do. And Kurwa macie, if it has to be, then it has to be. But you are so on point with that statement. I love it.
The shooter was indeed a socialist, in all due likelihood radicalized on campus, writing in things like Ciao Bella, a communist anti-fascist guerrilla song used in Italy, or things like Catch This Fascist, with a reference to Helldivers 2's 500-kilogram bomb call-in.
Oh yeah, the one bullet that he says it wasn't just Catch This Fascist, or it was with the Helldivers thing, it was... what was it? Right, down, left, down. I don't know. It's one of the first tactical callings you can have. So yeah, he even for some reason dragged Helldivers into it.
On it, we know why this happened. There is no doubt about it. There's no question. There's no confusion. And then becomes the question: what was he radicalized by? Why has it become so common for left-wing violent rhetoric to be simply accepted? Well, it's because it is simply legal. It is not punished. It is not... well, it's not even reacted to at all. We have, so many examples now, but just to take one quick from Charlie Kirk.
I hate Charlie Kirk. I think he's actually a Satan spawn, but he's very, very strategically minded.
Or on Charlie Kirk, more correctly, is of course Destiny. No consequences received from this, none whatsoever. We have another one from literally just a day ago, George Abaronoyi, I think, who also debated Charlie Kirk once, I do believe, says Charlie Kirk got shot, let's fucking go.
And then they will cry that we actually think that they should go into an asylum or prison. I personally would prefer prison. If you really want to say what I think that people that write this down, things like this, should be investigated. If they have a pattern of this behavior, they shouldn't go into an asylum, instantly to prison, and then work just the entire day until, let's just say, I think 10 years are appropriate for this. 10 years, just every day work for society, and if they don't learn it, well, it is what it is. And yes, I know this is unrealistic, it shouldn't happen because my thoughts are on this one are a bit too extreme, but as I said, I am just so sick of this. We had to suffer under this kind of things for years now. And I am just so happy that it changes the rhetoric right now. Damn, I would... if I could just snip to stop it, I would.
That is his response. That is a person who has also argued quite vehemently things like this.
To effectively create change in the world we desire. And Side Prop will argue that at times there is simply nothing else that can be required other than violent retaliation. And this is a view I wholeheartedly agree with. The view that some institutions are too broken, too regressive, too oppressive to be reformed. Like cancers of our society, they must and they should be taken down by any means necessary.
It's that simple. These people are arguing for violence. They're not being roundabout about it, they're not being subtle, they're not being sneaky, they hate you and they want to destroy you. They say it in the most blatant form imaginable. And again, there are no consequences because the rules are not applied evenly. Mr. Abaronai's comments are abhorrent. They do not contravene the college's policies on free speech. The right has learned very much so at its cost that it can't say anything even remotely close to...
Exactly. And at some point, this will explode. I hope not, but this will effing explode. And it's not gonna be nice.
The right has gone very, very good at self-censoring itself to speak and paint within the lines set by social media platforms. Lines simply not observed by our opposition. And there are so many compilation clips going about right now. Everything from the left's talking heads like Hassan Piker or Destiny or Vosh calling for violence in the most explicit terms conceivable.
And by the way, I just want to say the following. Hassan Piker is a proven freaking terrorist supporter, and Vosh has a, let's just say, PORN interest in horse genitalia, or let's just say he wants to be a horse and penetrate little children with it. So, you know, yeah.
Again, no guile, no subterfuge, simply just calls for violence over and over again. From the politicians as well. Mainline, major name politicians declaring Trump to be a fascist, to be the enemy, that he needs to be attacked, that he needs to be punched. This is how they view all of MAGA. Again, no subterfuge whatsoever. Countless numbers of these compilations right now. It simply has no end to it. And it, again, talking heads, politicians, entertainers, all of it from top to bottom that is now, once more, attempting to use our own arguments to shield their actions.
People don't have any intention of saying something that's going to lead to something dangerous, but we can't.
Hey, Evil, you just tuned in the correct time, I see.
Cannot take
As
responsibility for the minds that are out there and how they hear it.
That is, of course, not an argument that the left has ever accepted at any point whatsoever. Speech is violence, we have been told. Even being silence is, in fact, violence. All forms of rhetoric have now been put on equal footing with physical harm by the left. Apply the left's standard.
You can literally disagree with them that the sky isn't blue, it's hell blue. That's maybe a bit lighter blue. And you're the bad guy that deserves punishment with, well, violence. It's just insane.
As this is also the only way in which anything can be corrected right now. Consequences must arrive for the left. Yes, speaking heads must experience what the right has been experiencing for the last 10 years.
I disagree with this. I don't think they should experience what the left or the right has experienced for the last, well, 2 decades. The center, normal human beings, or no, I'm not saying that the rights aren't normal human beings. The center, the middleists, every single normal human being that was there, and I include the right with it. So, and I don't need the extremists, I mean normal human beings that have there or think a certain way. They should get double the amount of things they actually did to us. Not just the exact same thing, double the thing they gave us. At a bare minimum. If somebody overhauls, well, let me say it like this. As soon as the parasites are removed, behave normal again. But as long as the parasites are there, we have to have a bit of a more, like, give them double what they give us. The blue sky darkest right above the viewers, shortest distance to the atmospheric layers. Yes, exactly. I for F's sake, I actually thought you're talking about blue sky, the social media, but no, the blue sky is darkest right above the viewer. Yes. Shortest distance to the atmospheric layer. Yes. Correct. And if somebody else disagrees with you from a certain side, well, burn, I guess. Burn.
Years. As you know what? The censorship of the right has in fact worked. When you are not allowed to speak, to verbalize threats, you won't make them. Perhaps that is in fact for the better in our current day extraordinarily divisive situation. Ideally speaking, we would eventually be able to arrive back to an era of complete free speech. We would all prefer to go back to the 90s, 2000s, where you could say pretty much anything you wanted and have it defended. I disagree with you, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. But to do that, we must first be on an equal footing.
Exactly. Exactly. On point, but we have to get to this point. And a lot of people that are actually in the power right now won't be or don't want to be on equal footing. And David, I don't know what happened in April. So, yeah, what the F? But let's just continue here.
We cannot have this be a unilateral thing anymore, where the left always places the blame on the right. You must de-escalate, right? You must bring down the temperature. No. When the left is being punished, that is what will bring down the temperature. When the consequences, when the firings impact the left wing, when they are swept from academia, swept from gaming companies, from the public, from social media and video sharing platforms, then the temperature will sink. It is that simple. And even on Stamford Bridge, just a few days ago, I then said 2014 Arch would have a lot of problems with this. He wouldn't like this. To which Sargon quite succinctly responded by simply stating that 2014 Arch is gone. And he is. He was removed by the left.
Exactly. By the way, even these days, I don't even like what I'm saying. But I just see it as a necessary evil. And David, if you could write down what happened in Nepal, so I can look it up later, after the stream.
They were the ones who took that away from us. Once more, this has been a right-wing virtue that the left has worked extraordinarily hard to beat out of us, and we still would like to cling to it. We still would like to keep free speech as a core, central liberty for all human beings. But it cannot continue to exist if only one side recognizes it, if only one side values it.
Yes.
And the temperature will not go down until it has been made clear that radicalization and radicalizing language is not accepted on either side.
Yes. Exactly. Yes.
The left has finally managed to drag the right kicking and screaming to this position. And I hope, dearly so, that it will finally be enforced. And there does appear to be movement in that direction, as people simply aren't taking this anymore. It is simply not being tolerated anymore.
Good, by the way.
And that is a damn good thing.
Yes, it is. And I am happy that we're going down this path. Very happy. Because the thing is, I just see it as a necessary evil, not as an evil that we would like to actually do. But hey, if we have to, we have to. And sorry, David, I misclicked there. So yeah. So they took down the government on Tuesday and cleaned up the street Wednesday, and Tuesday they elected a new prime minister. Friday a whole weekend. They call it the Gen Z protest. Gen Z protest. Gen Z protest in Nepal. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna look into it, but I didn't hear from it. Gen Z uprising in Nepal. How Nepal Gen Z activists draw protests against corruption. Neutrals. ABC News. How Gen Z took Nepal baby. No Nepo babies in Nepal. I have to look into it before I'm gonna do it, but thank you. This is good. This is very good. I'm gonna definitively look this one up because this is interesting. This is very, very heavily interesting. Damn. Thank you, David. Oh, freak. Oof. Gonna go only this one. And this one won't be... I mean, if Ace, for some reason, sees this... Sorry, but, mate, it's your own fault with the title. I mean, it's... Oh no, it's only 2 hours ago. I have a rule that I don't react if it's not more or less 24 hours ago. No, I'm not gonna break the rule. I'm not gonna break it. It is what it is. Let's see. Oh, Jesterbell actually did something. But what I'm gonna do... No, this is also 2 hours ago. Where is he? Dr. Disaster, but not the new thing. Let's just go out and see. Damn, he's actually grinding. This man is grinding. Let's see about Refound Ghost. Very nice. Refounded Ghost of Yote. Please drop after mocking Charlie Kirk and using Kotaku the gamers. It's again a Charlie Kirk thing. Yeah. Dark Walk, the ideology that hijacked a generation. I mean, we have so much negatives about the entire thing. I mean, no, let's do it. Ghost of Yotai, I just hope that it burns because, well, the predecessor was good. And I just like hearing, well, let's just say, negative things happening to a certain group after they did a few heinous things. The start is already nice, yeah.
Am I a joke to you?
Yes.
Oh, hell yes.
Yeah? Nice.
What is up, space pirates? This is your admiral, the notoriously nefarious Dr. Disaster. And while Sony and Sucker Punch have reportedly fired the Ghost of Yote senior developer who was mocking Charlie Kirk after his death, they have not made any public statement condemning his words.
Exactly.
Somehow, they are under the impression that this is all gonna blow over and that they can hide from it.
And I think to assert, if this didn't blow up that heavily, that freaking heavily, they would have even been correct. But, sadly, no, right now, they are getting hounded, not, because I always say hunted, no, hounded, like, bloodhounds get sickened after them. And that's a good thing in my opinion.
How can he see me?
Sony decided to confirm this firing to Kotaku in a direct email, which tells you everything you need to know about how Sony actually feels about those of us pushing back against this vile behavior. Kotaku went out and then wrote this article here, condemning us for calling out these pukes who made asses of themselves in public, being okay with political violence and even cheering it on. Never forget that these communist dingleberries over at Kotaku don't have a problem with what happened to Charlie Kirk. Never forget the differences between us.
We are not the same. I'm an American. You're a sick asshole.
But all that being said, Sony and Sucker Punch did make the move to fire this person who made an ass out of themselves, who worked for them, and you have to wonder why that would happen in an environment where these people clearly have no regard for anyone who doesn't buy into their shit-lib worldview.
The thing is, there are some people that buy into it, but it's a small, very, very vicious and unhinged part of, well, human beings, basically. So yeah.
They will not communicate with us, but they will communicate with Kotaku. Clearly they view commie game journalists who will use this information to immediately attack us as their colleagues and mouthpieces.
Did we just become best friends? Yup!
So why would they decide to fire this person? Why not just do nothing? Well, the answer is this, folks. We have too much power these days, and this was already starting to hurt their sales, as I will show you in a few minutes here. Kotaku blames Gamergate 2 for this, and in all honesty, this is bigger than that. The death of Charlie Kirk is much bigger. There just happens to be an overlap between those of us who were a part of Gamergate 2 and those pushing back on Charlie's behalf for the side of decency.
Yes. Yes, and by the way, just to clear it out, I think that Gamergate 2 or even or everything else isn't half as important as the life of Kirk. It was just such an eye-opener for a lot of people that there are actual human beings who would celebrate this. That it just will, well, flacker way more resistance against them, I think.
But who am I to argue with Kotaku? If they want to resurrect last year's gaming boogeyman, then I don't care. Let them do it. As long as they understand the truth, that things have fundamentally shifted and consequence culture, which is what they called it when they wielded it, but that consequence culture is now being wielded by their opponents and aimed in their direction.
A new power is rising. Its victory is at hand! To war!
Fuck it, I take it, we are Sauron's army. On point. Good, Dr. Disaster, yes, you are correct. F it. We are the orcs. We are rising, we are coming with the spears and just pointy stick showing and doing stuff with it. Yep, I'm all for it. No, I'm gonna skip the intro.
Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video.
And by the way, show him some love, you know, the freaking shenanigans.
Share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I've had a lot of people tell me recently that they have been unwillingly unsubscribed to the channel, so make sure you check on that. And there's been a lot of talk about restricted mode being automatically enabled for a lot of users on YouTube, which would cut you off from a lot of your favorite channels.
By the way, restricted mode, get your thingy bob here, language restricted mode off. And turn it off. Because, you know, F restricted mode.
So don't forget to check into that as well, and to turn it off if it has been turned on and you don't want it. But anyhow, for full context, before we look at the backlash that Sucker Punch was facing, let's look at this Kotaku article. This is who Sony chose to disclose the confirmation of their employees' termination to. I will not be linking to this article in the description of the video because I refuse to send traffic their way. But anyhow, they wrote,
Fair enough.
Contingent of right-wing online figures and their followers have been using the recent assassination of conservative podcaster Charlie Kirk to punish people they don't like. That includes a developer at Ghost of Yotei maker Sucker Punch Productions, who Sony confirms it has parted ways with after she made a joke on social media about the shooting. It wasn't a joke, or at least it wasn't only a joke. It was meant to celebrate Charlie's death, and that is why Sony and Sucker Punch removed this person from their company, because we all saw it. Notice how, in this next paragraph, they don't explain this harmless little joke because it makes them and their asinine progressive politics look extremely bad. But they wrote, "I hope the shooter's name is Mario so that Luigi knows his bro got his back. Drew Harrison, a nearly 10-year veteran of the PlayStation studio, posted in the evening after Kirk was shot and killed during a speaking event at Utah Valley University." And then they immediately start going after what Mark Kern said on X, absolutely no explanation for what that Mario quit was supposed to mean, because we all know. This person was referring to Luigi Mangione, an alleged progressive killer who brazenly shot someone in the back for political reasons. We all know what it meant, and they can't hide it.
I mean, that's unhinged. That's just unhinged. Come on, like, do you even have to pretend? It's just, come on. No.
But then, a ways down in the article, they reveal that Sony has contacted them to confirm that Drew Harrison was in fact fired for what she said. The article says here...
By the way, good. Very good. I am for it. Let them. And for everybody who says this is censorship, yes. It is. It is. As they did to us, +2 or double it.
Harrison subsequently shared on social media that people had been contacting her employer angrily trying to get her fired, and posted a screenshot of a barrage of missed calls from anonymous numbers as evidence of an ongoing harassment campaign. Less than 24 hours later, she...
Well, it worked. And she would have done the exact same thing to me. So, F her.
Was fired. If standing up against fascism is what cost me my dream job I held for 10 years, I would do it again 100 times stronger, she wrote. Sony confirmed her departure in an email to Kotaku, but declined to comment further. Drew Harrison is no longer an employee of Sucker Punch Productions, a spokesperson from Sony Interactive Entertainment wrote. So, that gives you some context as to what Sony and Sucker Punch actually thinks of you and I. Rather than make an official statement condemning these people celebrating Kirk's death, they just slipped the information to Kotaku. They have been put in the unenviable position of knowing that they had to fire this person because their words were indefensible, but they don't want to alienate the modern audience, who would likely cancel their pre-orders for the game if they found out that Sony and Sucker Punch were against political violence.
I mean, the thing is, they already know. They know the tide is shifting, and I mean, cancel the pre-order for F's sake. And yes, it's easier said than done, because even I am like, I don't do pre-orders except for a few things where I was just hyped for and still did this stupid mistake. Luckily, I got actually lucky and didn't regret it, so...
After all, for as much as leftists want to make it seem like political violence isn't the norm with them, this tweet here has over 500,000 likes on it, after saying, "Me liking every tweet making fun of Charlie Kirk." But all of that said, there have been canceled pre-orders because of all of this from the other direction on the political spectrum, which is why Sony did have to act. As this ex-user wrote here, "My wife, who isn't political and only learned about Charlie Kirk this week, told me she doesn't want to pre-order Ghost of Yotei anymore because the idiotic stuff said by the devs even made it to Japanese Twitter."
Smart woman. She's a keeper. You got a good one there.
If you're losing people like that, you've done goofed. And yes, there does seem to be an epidemic of people choosing not to buy this game now. Now, as you may remember, it was less than a week ago I was talking about the pre-orders for Ghost of Yotei being weak. Most of you likely know by now, but for those who don't, I used to own my own gaming store, and I still have contacts with people in the retail space. In fact, I'm in contact with a few folks who, between them, run almost 50 stores which sell video games. They feed me pre-order numbers so that we can gauge how well a game is tracking.
Freak, I didn't know that. That's, I think, awesome. So this information is not just hearsay. Nice.
Compared to previous games, and as of right now, Ghost of Yotei has 47 pre-orders for it, spread out among all of these almost 50 stores. The other day, I reported that Yotei had sold 45 copies, meaning that they've gained a couple more pre-orders since last time we discussed this. But here's the thing. Actually, they have reportedly lost 9 pre-orders in these past few days. So what that means, that in the past week, since we've talked about this, Ghost of Yotei gained 11 more orders, but since 9 people got refunds, they only netted 2 more sales. In fact, what is really incredible here is that those 9 refunds represent 20% of the pre-orders that were already ordered.
Yes.
I doubt that...
That's what I wanted to point out. This is 20%. It's not just 9 copies. It's 20% of the entire thing that got refunded. That's a big chunk that goes back. And I find it funny. Yes. Do it this way. Perfect. Yes.
20% represents the entirety of the market. You can't extrapolate that 20% and assume that that applies to the entirety of the gaming market. That seems a bit high. But clearly, whatever percentage of people were canceling their pre-orders, it was enough to make Sony flinch. So they fired her. The thing is, I think that a lot of the people who dislike what this developer said about Charlie Kirk, I think a lot of them were already avoiding the game. So Sucker Punch and Sony figure that a public statement would cost them even more pre-orders. In other words, they think their audience is the modern audience, and they're probably correct to a certain extent. What is funny though, is that with all of these cancelled pre-orders, Ghost of Yotei is now barely tracking ahead of Dragon Age the Veilguard. You guys know how I like to compare these games' pre-order numbers to each other. Well, when the Veilguard was 3 weeks out from its release, as Ghost of Yotei is right now, they had sold 42 pre-orders in these nearly 50 stores, and of course, that game went on to flop miserably. We can only hope that the same happens to Yotei. But I'm going to leave it there.
Yeah, I think we're going to the on the right direction. We are on the right path, on the correct path to actually let it fail. So yeah, I'm actually quite happy about it. It's only sad to say, yeah, I'm happy about something to just die out, but you know, it is what it is. But Acolytes, as it is, my dearest loves, well, at least as long as I can use your bodies for necromancy. That's enough for me for today. 3 hours is just a bestial task for me right now. It's getting better, by the way, because as I started, I actually made at best 1.5 hours. But right now, it's actually going better and better. Or, I mean, right now I'm at 3 hours and I'm as done or just, müde as I was with, well, basically 2 hours. So, it's getting better. But as it is, have a good night and thank you for watching.